The night settles slowly over the ancient lands, unfolding like a gentle veil that softens every edge of the world. Far across the horizon, the last traces of daylight melt into a muted blend of amber and violet, fading behind dunes that have witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations long before memory took its first breath. The air grows still, calm, almost sacred, as if the earth itself prepares to speak in the quiet language of antiquity, one understood only in moments such as this, when silence deepens and time loosens its grasp. You find yourself standing at the threshold of a vast landscape once walked by kings, astronomers, priests, and travelers seeking wisdom within the heart of an empire that shaped the ancient world. Babylon, wrapped in the tranquility of night, lies ahead like a dream suspended between the sands and the sky. There is no urgency, no sound to disturb the gentle stillness, only the soft rhythm of your own breath blending with the fabric of the evening. Here, the world feels slower, broader, unhurried. Every grain of sand seems carried by the memory of thousands of years, resting now beneath a luminous, pale moon that rises with serene majesty over the distant plains. The moonlight spreads across the desert in delicate silver sheets, illuminating the winding path you stand upon, a path shaped not by chance, but by centuries of footsteps, travelers journeying toward the same destination you approach now. The light reveals the faint contours of ancient stone fragments half buried in the sand, their surfaces worn smooth by wind and time. They sit quietly, like silent guardians marking the boundary between the outer world and the realm of Babylon's secrets. Their presence feels gentle, reassuring, as though they invite you forward with the promise of a night filled with peace and discovery. Each step you take sinks softly into the cool desert floor, releasing the faint scent of sand that has rested untouched all day beneath the sun. The coolness rises through your feet, traveling lightly through your body, dissolving tension the way distant river water smooths the edges of stones. The night air carries a delicate breath of warmth that lingers from the vanished daylight, mixing with a faint whisper of breeze that passes across the dunes in long, slow waves. It is a soothing rhythm, steady, unbroken, echoing the steady pulse of the Euphrates that once nourished the gardens and fields of Babylon. Far ahead, the silhouette of the ancient city begins to materialize through the soft shimmer of moonlight. Towers, once vibrant with life, appear as gentle shadows against the sky. Their outlines are softened now, gentle and worn, touched by countless nights like this one. The closer you move, the more the city seems to rise from the earth like a memory returning from deep within the past. Babylon does not rush to reveal itself. Instead, it unfolds gradually, calmly, allowing your mind to drift into its quiet rhythm. To your left, the land dips into a shallow valley where a narrow stream reflects the moon like a long ribbon of polished silver. Though the water moves slowly, almost imperceptibly, its presence enriches the night with a deep stillness, as though the stream itself has been listening for millennia to the stories whispered by the city. As you walk beside it for a moment, the subtle murmur of water reaches your ears, a soft, soothing sound, steady and continuous, blending with the silence rather than breaking it. It feels like a lullaby carved into the landscape. Ahead of you, rising gently from the heart of the earth, a soft glow begins to take shape. It is warm, muted, as though coming from a distant lantern or from the last embers of a long-forgotten flame. The glow gently outlines the base of Babylon's ancient walls, stone giants carved from the memories of time itself. They stand tall, but not imposing. Their presence feels steady, grounded, protective. The stones absorb the moonlight, holding it like a soft breath, and reveal faint carvings that trail across their surfaces in graceful patterns. The details are subtle now, worn by centuries, but they still carry echoes of the artisans who once shaped them under the glow of another ancient moon. The path widens as you approach the gate, forming a graceful curve that guides your steps without effort. The desert around you becomes more textured, shaped by the remnants of old foundations, broken columns, and fragments of ziggurats that rest peacefully in the sand. Each ruin seems to rise from the earth as though gently awakening beneath the night sky. Their forms softened into silhouettes that blend with the natural contours of the land. The quiet symmetry of this ancient architecture seems designed to soothe the mind, encouraging your thoughts to drift slowly, calmly, like clouds moving across a still, dark sky. As you come closer, the glow intensifies, not harshly, but in a softening way, like the gentle warmth of a distant hearth. A small flame flickers near the base of the entrance, sheltered behind a shaped stone recess. The light dances in slow, steady patterns, casting elongated shadows that stretch gently across the sand. Its warm radiance contrasts beautifully with the cool blue of the night, creating a harmony of tones that feels both ancient and calming. The flame seems to welcome you, guiding your final steps toward the threshold of Babylon. You pause before the gate, not because you must, but because the moment feels peaceful, timeless, deserving of stillness. The quiet around you deepens, settling into a profound serenity that touches every part of your mind. Here, under the vast expanse of the starlit sky, the world narrows into simplicity. The sound of your breath, the faint whisper of wind, the warmth of the lantern's glow, and the silent presence of walls that have endured longer than memory. You stand not at the beginning of a story, but within it, held gently by the ancient calm of Babylon. Tonight, the city waits for you, not as a traveler rushing through, but as a quiet guest wandering slowly through layers of time. Its streets, gardens, and temples will unfold gradually, guiding you deeper into the soothing rhythm of a world crafted from dreams, moonlight, and the soft murmur of ancient water. And so, beneath this peaceful sky, you take your first step into Babylon. The pathway that guides you deeper into the ancient land stretches before you as a slow, unbroken ribbon of soft earth, winding gently between the rising curves of desert dunes whose surfaces shimmer faintly beneath the pale wash of moonlight. The night has fully settled now, covering the landscape with a gentle calm that seems to soften every distant sound until only a deep, soothing quiet remains. The cool air carries the faint scent of sand, stone, and the distant river that once nourished the gardens of Babylon, drifting in long, delicate traces that calm the breath and ease the mind into a state of deep stillness. Each step you take upon the path feels measured and unhurried, your feet sinking slightly into the cool ground that yields softly beneath your weight. The grains of sand shift in slow waves, creating subtle patterns that glimmer beneath the moon, as though the earth itself responds to your presence in its own quiet rhythm. The vastness of the surrounding desert opens before you like a great, silent sea, its dunes rising and falling with the gentle grace of tides frozen in time. Above you, the sky stretches endlessly, scattered with constellations that shimmer faintly, steady, patient lights that have watched over this land for thousands of nights like this one. The path gradually widens, framed on either side by small clusters of ancient stones that protrude from the earth like the remnants of long-forgotten structures. Their shapes are softened by centuries of wind, but faint carvings remain visible on some of their surfaces, delicate patterns worn thin, yet still carrying the quiet dignity of a civilization that once flourished in the heart of this vast landscape. The carvings catch the moonlight in narrow glints, creating soft traces of brightness that guide your eyes forward in a calm, unhurried flow. In the distance, the first outlines of Babylon's outer walls begin to appear. Large, patient silhouettes rising from the earth in gentle contrast with the pale glow of the desert. They are not imposing nor sharp, but softened by time into smooth, calming forms that blend naturally with their surroundings. The walls stretch far in each direction, disappearing into the darkness with a quiet continuity that seems to hold the desert in a peaceful embrace. Their surfaces reflect the moonlight in subtle, muted tones, revealing the faint textures of ancient mud brick shaped long ago by hands that worked under the warmth of another era's sun. As you walk, the stillness of the night deepens further, weaving itself around your thoughts with a gentle, soothing persistence. The world seems to slow into a tranquil rhythm, each moment unfolding with soft continuity. A faint breeze moves across the dunes, not strong enough to disturb the sand, but just enough to bring a refreshing coolness to your skin, carrying with it the distant scent of reeds from the riverbank. The air feels balanced between warmth and coolness, creating a perfect harmony that calms the senses and quiets the inner voice until only the soft awareness of the moment remains. Ahead of you, the ground begins to rise slightly, lifting you toward a vantage point where the walls of Babylon come into clear view. From this gentle elevation, the city appears like a vast, slumbering giant, its structures softened into smooth shapes beneath the moon's tender radiance. The towering gateways, the long stretches of ancient walls, the faint outlines of ziggurats rising in the distance, all blend into a serene tapestry of stillness, as though the entire city breathes in slow, deep rhythms that echo the calm of the night. The lantern you noticed earlier continues to glow softly near the base of the entrance. Its flame flickers in long, unbroken movements, casting warm, golden hues onto the surrounding stones. The small circle of light it creates forms a tranquil contrast against the cool tones of the night, inviting you closer with its gentle radiance. As the path gradually brings you nearer, the glow begins to reveal more details of the entrance's stonework. Broad pillars carved with faint symbols, smooth surfaces shaped by centuries of wind and drifting sand, and small recesses where shadows gather in soft, velvety depths. You continue walking slowly, savoring each step as the environment around you shifts in graceful, calming transitions. The desert underfoot becomes firmer, the grains of sand giving way to patches of packed earth and small fragments of smooth stone. The sound of your steps changes almost imperceptibly, softening even further, blending seamlessly into the profound quiet that surrounds you. The breeze seems to pause for long stretches at a time, allowing the stillness to deepen into something close to complete silence. Near the edge of the pathway, tufts of dry grass sway gently, illuminated by the faint silver glow of the moon. Their delicate movements create tiny ripples of shadow that slide across the ground in soft, rhythmic patterns. Each blade bends and rises with slow grace, as though moving in harmony with the calm breath of the night. In this quiet place, even the smallest motion feels meaningful, contributing to the overall tranquility that settles around you like a soft, invisible blanket. The walls of Babylon now stand only a short distance ahead, their full height and breadth visible beneath the moon's gentle shine. Though immense, they appear softened by time, blending naturally with the desert as though they were shaped not merely by human hands but by the landscape itself. The color of the stone shifts between muted browns and silvery grays, depending on how the moonlight touches it, giving the walls a serene, fluid quality that makes them feel alive in a quiet, enduring way. As you approach the entrance, the lantern's warm glow expands to reveal the stone threshold. The doorway stands tall and broad, framed by two colossal pillars whose carved surfaces show graceful, flowing patterns. Patterns inspired by water, wind, stars, and the ancient beliefs that once filled this city with life. Though the carvings have faded over centuries, they still carry a sense of calmness and balance, guiding the gaze in slow, circular motions that soothe the mind and steady the breath. The lantern's flame sways gently as you come closer, casting long, slow shadows across the sand. The shadows stretch behind you, merging with the surrounding darkness in a seamless, unhurried flow. The flame itself glows steadily, its warmth radiating into the quiet air, creating a sense of gentle welcome at the city's threshold. The interplay of cool moonlight and warm lantern glow forms a perfect harmony, one that invites you into the heart of Babylon, as though the city has been waiting for your arrival. You pause for a moment just before the entrance, allowing the tranquility of the scene to settle fully into your mind. The ancient walls rise around you, steady and timeless. The night sky stretches overhead, broad and open. The gentle glow of the lantern flickers softly, and the silence, deep, peaceful, unbroken, wraps around you like a cocoon of calm. Here at this threshold, you feel the quiet invitation of the ancient city. Babylon, resting beneath the tender glow of the moon, awaits you, ready to reveal its gardens, its pathways, its temples, and its secrets in slow, soothing moments of deep rest. And in this peaceful pause, you take one final breath of the cool night air before stepping inside. The threshold of the ancient gate welcomes you with a quiet dignity shaped by countless nights like this one, where moonlight rests gently upon the stone and the soft glow of a solitary flame offers warmth against the vast stillness of the desert. As you take your first unhurried step beneath the archway, the world behind you seems to fade into a distant hush, while the world ahead opens into a calm that feels deeper, older, and more intimate than anything you have yet experienced on this journey. The air changes subtly as you pass beneath the gate, becoming cooler, more sheltered, infused with the faint scent of aged brick and the delicate traces of floral sweetness left behind by gardens long vanished, yet somehow preserved in the atmosphere of this quiet night. The passage beyond the gate stretches forward in a slow, gentle slope, guiding you into the quiet embrace of Babylon's outer district. The moonlight filters through narrow openings carved high along the walls, creating elongated beams that descend in soft, muted columns. These pale shafts of light settle on the smooth stone floor like delicate veils, shaping a path that glows just enough to guide your steps without intruding upon the surrounding stillness. The interplay of light and shadow moves with subtle grace, forming shifting layers that drift across the surface of the wall as the night wind passes faintly through the upper vents. Each step you take echoes softly, the sound absorbed almost immediately by the thickness of the ancient stone. The floor beneath your feet is cool and even, worn smooth by centuries of travelers who once walked the same path. Priests carrying offerings, scribes returning from late-night study, merchants seeking rest after long journeys across the desert. Though the city no longer stirs with the activity of its former inhabitants, their quiet presence lingers here in the serene atmosphere, blending seamlessly with the calm that settles over every surface and every breath of air. The corridor widens gradually, opening into a spacious antechamber shaped into gentle curves that rise upward into an arching ceiling. The structure feels like a sanctuary of calm, its design crafted to welcome weary travelers and ease the mind into a slower, deeper rhythm. Carvings adorn the walls, delicate patterns inspired by flowing water, drifting wind, and the meandering lines of the Euphrates. Though softened by time, the carvings remain visible in the moonlight, casting faint shadows that glide along the stone with each slow flicker of a lantern light from the gate behind you. A gentle breeze moves through the chamber, carrying with it the faintest hint of moisture, evidence of water lying deeper within the city. This breeze brings a refreshing coolness that settles upon your skin like a soft whisper, encouraging your breath to deepen into steady, unhurried rhythms. The air seems to pause between each subtle motion, creating an atmosphere where time slows into a quiet presence that surrounds you with a tender, ancient calm. Beyond the antechamber, the pathway continues into a long, narrow street lined with stone walls that rise into shadowed silhouettes beneath the moon. The buildings here seem to grow directly from the earth, their forms blending with the natural contours of the land, shaped by generations who built with patience and reverence for the desert around them. Their surfaces reflect the night in soft hues of muted gold and silver, creating a landscape of gentle contrast where every edge is softened and every corner holds its own quiet pool of shadow. The street is wide enough to allow moonlight to stretch across its full length, creating a pale ribbon of silver that guides your path. Along the edges, small clusters of desert plants grow in the cracks between old stones, low shrubs with soft, rounded leaves that shimmer faintly in the night breeze. Their presence adds a delicate fragrance to the air, a subtle blend of earthiness and floral sweetness that settles into your breath with gentle ease. As you walk deeper into the city, the soft murmur of distant water begins to reach your ears. It is a faint sound, quiet and rhythmic, like the gentle lap of ripples against ancient stone. Though the river itself lies farther within the heart of Babylon, the vast network of canals and reflective pools weave throughout the city, carrying the presence of water with them wherever they flow. Even at this hour, when all activity has stilled, the water moves with unhurried grace through narrow channels that pass beneath walkways and between gardens that once flourished under the sun. The sound of water mingles with the rustle of night wind flowing gently through distant palm fronds. The combination forms a subtle, hypnotic rhythm, a soft pulse that drifts through the streets, echoing faintly off the stone surfaces and merging with the profound stillness of the night. Each inhalation brings this tranquil chorus deeper into your senses, soothing your thoughts and encouraging them to settle into calm, extended currents that flow like the quiet canals ahead. You pass beneath a series of low arches that connect one street to another, their shadows stretching across the ground in long, smooth shapes that shift slightly with the touch of the breeze. Lantern niches carved into the walls once held flames that lit the city's paths at night, and though the lanterns themselves are long extinguished, the presence of these quiet alcoves adds a sense of continuity to your journey. as though you walk along routes that have long been prepared for the calm movements of travelers beneath the moon. Ahead, the street opens into a wide courtyard where the moonlight gathers in a soft, luminous pool. The courtyard is framed by graceful columns rising from the ground like ancient trees made of stone. Their surfaces, adorned with faint carvings, reflect the night in delicate tones that seem to shimmer as you approach. The courtyard's floor is paved with large, smooth stones arranged in slow, flowing patterns that form gentle curves beneath your feet. These patterns guide your steps toward the center of the courtyard, where a shallow, reflecting pool spreads outward in perfect stillness. The water in the pool mirrors the sky with such clarity that it appears like a second, quieter night suspended within the earth. The moon's reflection rests upon the surface in a broad, unbroken circle of silver light, its edges merging softly with the deeper tones of the surrounding water. Tiny ripples drift across the surface, created by the faint breeze that touches your skin, and the movement sends slow waves of shimmering light across the courtyard walls. These waves unfold with such gentle rhythm that they soothe the eyes, creating a calming pulse that blends seamlessly into the quiet atmosphere. You pause near the edge of the pool, watching as the moonlight glides across the water in long, delicate strokes. The air here is cool and still, carrying a soft serenity that feels older than the stones beneath your feet. The gentle hum of the distant canals continues to drift through the quiet, merging with the faint rustle of trees from a nearby garden. The night surrounds you with its calming presence, allowing your breath to deepen and your thoughts to settle into a slow, restful pattern. Beyond the courtyard, a path lined with slender pillars extends toward the inner district of the city. The pillars cast long shadows across the ground, creating a pattern of alternating light and dark that resembles the rhythm of a quiet heart. The path curves gently, inviting you deeper into Babylon's sleeping heart. And with the soft glow of the moon lighting your way, you step forward once more, carried by the stillness of the ancient night. The pathway that guides you away from the moonlit courtyard begins as a narrow ribbon of smooth stone bordered on each side by slender pillars that rise from the earth like quiet sentinels. Their surfaces are cool beneath the pale glow of the night sky, shaped by centuries of drifting winds that softened every edge until each pillar resembles a vertical stream carved from moonlit sand. As the breeze moves gently through the corridor formed by these columns, faint shadows ripple across the ground in rhythmic waves that mirror the calm pulse of the ancient city around you. Beyond the pillars, the path widens gradually, revealing faint traces of greenery that cling lovingly to the edges of the stone. At first, the plants appear as small, scattered flourishes, soft leaves peeking out from crevices where moisture once gathered. But the farther you walk, the more the landscape begins to shift, transitioning into a space shaped by careful hands long ago. The scent in the air changes subtly as well, becoming richer, layered with the faint aroma of foliage, water, and earth. It is not strong or bright, but delicate, like the lingering memory of gardens that once thrived beneath the Babylonian sun. The moonlight, now fully risen overhead, bathes the pathway in silver illumination, revealing the entrance to a vast, tranquil expanse known in ancient times as the Inner Gardens. Though softened by the passage of ages, the gardens still retain the quiet dignity of a place crafted for reflection, for peace, for the simple joy of wandering slowly through nature while the world sleeps around you. The remnants of terraces rise in gentle steps, blending seamlessly with the surrounding landscape. Their surfaces are adorned with faint textures of old bricks, and though many stones have settled into the earth, their shapes still suggest the outline of pathways that once guided countless footsteps. As you enter the garden's threshold, the air cools noticeably, infused with the subtle moisture that rises from the network of shallow pools hidden within the terraces. The faint murmur of water reaches your ears, soft, rhythmic, and soothing, like the breath of a gentle stream moving through a forgotten sanctuary. Those centuries have passed since these pools overflowed with the vibrant life of Babylon's gardens. Their presence remains, maintained by the natural springs that still feed the grounds beneath the city. The sound blends with the night breeze, creating a peaceful harmony that encourages your steps to slow further. You move through the garden along a broad walkway whose surface is smooth and gently curved. The moonlight creates a delicate shimmer across the path, revealing fragments of old tile work beneath your feet. Intricate mosaics arranged and swirling, fluid patterns reminiscent of drifting currents or blooming petals. These mosaics, though faded and scattered, still carry the artistry of the ancient world, softly illuminating the space with reflective glints that dance in slow, calming patterns across the stone. Towering palms rise from the terraces in majestic forms, their slender trunks stretching upward until their fronds unfurl into wide canopies that sway gently under the night sky. The sound of their leaves brushing against one another creates a soft, whispering chorus that merges with the murmuring pools. This natural symphony, subtle and soothing, echoes faintly through the gardens, giving the sense that the land itself breathes in long, peaceful rhythms. The deeper you move into the gardens, the more the atmosphere expands into a serene embrace. The foliage grows thicker in some areas, forming sheltered alcoves where shadows gather softly beneath the overhanging leaves. These alcoves feel like natural sanctuaries, places where travelers once paused to rest from the sun, where scribes sat to write or thinkers pondered beside the calming presence of water. Though the gardens have long been silent, the tranquility that once drew people here remains woven into the very air. One of the most striking features of this space is a long, curved pool that stretches between two broad terraces. Its surface reflects the sky with remarkable clarity, capturing the pale moon and the scattered stars in a still tableau of shimmering light. Reeds grow along the pool's edge, bending slightly beneath the touch of the breeze. Their slender forms create faint ripples that glide slowly across the water, moving in gentle arcs before fading into stillness once more. As you pause to observe the pool, the quiet depth of the moment settles around you with a soothing weight. The moon's reflection widens into soft, blurred patterns, distorted by the subtle movement of the reeds. These patterns shift and shimmer in long, continuous motions, encouraging your breath to follow their calming rhythm. The space feels timeless, neither anchored in the past nor pulled by the present, but simply existing in a serene, suspended moment. Beyond the pool, the terraces rise again in smooth, shallow steps. You ascend them unhurriedly, feeling the stone beneath your feet grow warmer where it has absorbed the day's sun. The terraces themselves are lined with ancient planters carved from large blocks of sandstone. Though the plants they once held have long returned to the earth, the shapes of the planters remain, filled now with soft clusters of desert flowers that bloom quietly in the moonlit calm. Their petals glow faintly, carrying muted tones of ivory, pale gold, and gentle rose, reflecting the night with a subtle beauty that feels both delicate and enduring. As you walk among these terraces, the faint scent of the flowers mingles with the cool breath of the breeze. The air becomes layered with soft notes that rise and fall with each step: floral sweetness, earthy warmth, the crisp scent of water. Each inhalation becomes deeper, slower, more peaceful. The gardens seem designed to cradle the senses, to ease the mind into a harmony that blends seamlessly with the quiet of the night. Farther along the upper terrace, you find another pool. This one smaller, framed by curved stone basins whose surfaces reflect the moonlight like polished marble. Water drifts gently over the basins in thin streams that create delicate ripples across the pool surface. The sound is barely audible, but its soft continuity adds another soothing layer to the garden's peaceful symphony. You rest beside the pool for a moment, watching the moon's reflection tremble and reform in slow waves. Beyond the terraces lies a pathway shaped from fine-cut stone, its curves leading toward an enclosed grove at the heart of the garden. The grove is filled with tall, slender trees whose branches rise in graceful arcs before spreading into wide clusters of delicate leaves. These leaves shimmer faintly under the moonlight, creating the impression of glowing threads woven into the fabric of the night. The branches sway in gentle, measured motions, casting intricate shadows that sway slowly across the ground. As you step into the grove, the air grows warmer, infused with the rich scent of wood and earth. The ground beneath your feet becomes soft, covered by a layer of delicate fallen leaves that cushion each step. The stillness within the grove is profound, deeper even than the quiet of the outer terraces. The sounds of the breeze and the distant pools fade into a muted hum, allowing the grove to adopt a sense of serene isolation. At its center lies a wide stone platform surrounded by clusters of low shrubs that release a faintly sweet fragrance. The platform is warm to the touch, absorbing the gentle heat that rises from the earth. It feels like a resting place, calm, grounding, ancient. You pause here, feeling the soft, layered silence of the grove settle into the rhythm of your breath. The canopy overhead moves gently, creating faint, sweeping shadows that drift across the stone in slow, tranquil motions. This inner grove once served as a place of reflection, where the people of Babylon sought quiet moments away from the bustling life of the city. Even now, with centuries between you and them, the grove holds the same promise. Its silence, its gentle scents, its slow-moving shadows all contribute to a calm that feels like a lullaby shaped from water, wind, and ancient memory. And as you stand at the heart of the grove, the peacefulness of the garden settles around you like a soft, protective cloak. The moon shines through the branches above, casting a tender glow that illuminates your path onward, deeper into the quiet night of Babylon. The quiet serenity of the inner gardens remains gently behind you as you move toward a softly curving pathway that extends from the grove's far edge. The path begins as a narrow trail marked by smooth, ancient stones arranged in long, fluid arcs that guide your steps with steady, unhurried assurance. The moonlight continues to glow with a soft radiance overhead, weaving delicate silver threads across the pathway, illuminating its contours while leaving the surrounding shadows to rest in the gentle stillness of the night. As you walk, the air shifts into a cooler, more refined balance, touched by a faint whisper of incense that lingers from the distant temples deeper within the ancient city. The scent mingles with the natural fragrance of leaves and earth, forming an atmosphere that feels warm and calm, like the quiet breath of a sanctuary preparing to reveal its secrets. The breeze drifts in slow, measured pulses, barely enough to stir the edges of your clothing or to move the shadows beneath the trees, yet steady enough to carry the tranquil rhythm of the city with delicate continuity. The pathway passes beneath a series of low archways carved from sandstone, their surfaces adorned with flowing patterns that mirror the shapes of wind-blown dunes and the curves of water moving gently across still basins. These carvings, though softened over countless centuries, still hold the essence of the artistry that once flourished in Babylon. The lantern niches along the arches are empty now, but you can imagine the gentle flames that once flickered here during the quiet hours of the night, guiding priests and astronomers along these routes with warm, rhythmic light. The deeper you travel, the more the ground beneath your feet levels out into a long, open promenade bordered by tall stone walls that rise on either side. The walls are smooth and expansive, as if carved from a single piece of sandstone, their surfaces reflecting the moonlight in soft gradients that glide upward toward the sky. The height of the walls creates a sheltered atmosphere, protecting the promenade from the winds that sweep across the open courtyards, enclosing the space in a calm, insulated silence that allows each sound, your breath, your steps, the faint rustle of leaves, to settle gently into the air. The promenade widens gradually, revealing the first signs of the temple quarter, one of the most revered areas in ancient Babylon. This part of the city once held sacred structures, observatories, and the quiet residences of scholars whose nights were spent studying the stars, the movement of the winds, and the subtle currents of the rivers that sustain the land. Though time has aged the stones and softened the edges of the structures, the calm dignity of this place remains, preserved in the tranquil balance of moonlight and shadow. As you walk deeper into the quarter, the scent of incense grows slightly stronger, never overwhelming, always gentle, carrying notes of resin, myrrh, and faint traces of desert blossoms that once filled ceremonial gardens. The fragrance seems to drift through the air in soft waves, enhancing the peaceful presence of the space. The stone walls reflect the scent with quiet warmth, as though holding the memory of rituals performed here under countless moons. The path curves into a circular plaza paved with smooth stones that form a great, swirling mosaic. The pattern resembles flowing currents converging into a single, calm center, designed to guide the eye and the breath into harmony. The mosaic glows softly beneath the moon, each tile catching the light in gentle pulses that move with the subtle shifting of the night breeze. Standing here feels like being at the heart of a quiet universe, where time spreads outward in steady, concentric waves, and your presence becomes part of the peaceful balance of the city. To the right of the plaza stands a row of tall pillars arranged in a graceful colonnade. Their surfaces are etched with faint lines that spiral upward toward rounded capitals shaped to resemble lotus flowers opening beneath the sky. The columns cast long, soft shadows that stretch across the ground in gentle ribbons, shifting slightly as the night breeze passes through the space. The sound of that breeze murmurs faintly within the hollow interiors of the columns, creating a soothing resonance that blends with the distant murmur of flowing water. Beyond the colonnade lies a small, reflecting pool bordered by low stone benches. The water within the pool is perfectly still, its surface capturing the moon with such clarity that it resembles a window into a deeper, quieter sky. Thin reeds rise along the pool's edge, their slender forms swaying in slow, rhythmic motions that send delicate ripples across the reflection. These ripples travel outward in long, fluid arcs, softening the moon's image into gentle, drifting patterns that calm the mind with their continuous flow. As you pause near the pool, the silence deepens. The world around you seems suspended in a quiet embrace. No hurried sounds, no disturbances. Only the soft echo of the night wind moving through the temple district and the faint trickle of water somewhere deeper within. The ground beneath your feet carries a subtle warmth, as though storing the sun's memory, while the air holds the cool stillness of the night. This balance creates a sensation of floating between temperatures, between worlds, between moments, an enveloping calm that settles naturally into your breath. The pathway continues from the pool, winding past a series of small shrines built into the walls. Each shrine is carved with symbolic motifs: flowing water, rising sun, drifting clouds, and the soft curves of celestial patterns. Inside the recessed alcoves, you notice stone bowls filled with the remnants of ancient oils that once burned during rituals. Though the flames have long faded, the atmosphere still carries a trace of warmth from the devotion that shaped these spaces. Farther along, the path rises onto a terraced platform where a small cluster of sacred trees grow. Their trunks are slender and smooth, their branches stretching upward in long, graceful arcs that form a natural canopy overhead. The leaves of the trees shimmer faintly beneath the moonlight, creating patterns of light that drift softly across the ground. The air here feels more fragrant, infused with the essence of the trees, cool, calming, and lightly sweet. As the breeze passes through, the leaves rustle in delicate murmurs that soothe the mind with their gentle rhythm. Standing beneath the canopy, you feel as though you are cocooned within a sanctuary of deep rest. The shadows move in slow, fluid motions, and a night sky appears through the branches like fragments of a soft, glowing tapestry. The stillness is profound, settling gently into your thoughts, easing tension from your shoulders, and guiding your breath into longer, calmer rhythms. Beyond the terrace, the path narrows again, illuminated by a series of moonlit openings positioned high along the stone walls. These openings allow silver beams of light to fall in angled patterns that shift slightly as the night deepens. The beams guide your steps toward a large doorway framed by smooth stone pillars. The doorway leads into a corridor that curves inward, deeper into the heart of the temple quarter. A corridor lined with carved symbols that reflect the reverence this district once held within the ancient city. The atmosphere near this entrance feels more sheltered, as though the world grows quieter the closer you move toward the sacred heart of Babylon. The air grows cooler and carries the faint scent of ancient oils and stone warmed by centuries of ritual. You pause briefly at the threshold, allowing the tranquility of the moment to settle fully into your senses. And then, guided by the soft glow of the moonlit passage, you step forward, deeper into the sanctuary of the ancient night. The entrance into the inner sanctuary of the temple quarter opens into a long, gently curving corridor whose walls rise high into the dimness above, forming an ancient passageway shaped by countless hands across the centuries. The stones that line the corridor are cool beneath the faint glow of moonlight filtering through narrow slits carved high along the ceiling. These openings allow thin, angled beams of silver-white light to fall across the floor in steady intervals, creating a quiet rhythm of brightness and shadow that stretches along the entire length of the passage. The effect is soft and hypnotic, encouraging your steps to fall into slow harmony with the alternating patterns. The air inside the corridor feels different, infused with a deeper sense of stillness than the gardens or the outer streets. It carries a subtle warmth that seems to rise gently from the stone itself, mixed with faint traces of incense that linger from ancient ceremonies once held within the temples. The fragrance is not strong, Rather, it drifts through the corridor in a delicate veil of sweetness, blending notes of myrrh, cedar, and distant desert herbs. Each breath you take draws the scent deeper into your senses, settling your thoughts into a calm, steady rhythm. As you walk farther into the passage, the ancient carvings along the walls become visible, subtle patterns etched into the stone in long, flowing arcs that resemble the movement of stars across the night sky. These carvings are arranged in sequences that follow the curvature of the corridor, forming swirling, celestial designs that spiral gently upward before disappearing into the shadows above. The lines seem to pulse faintly with the moonlight, as if echoing the slow, steady motion of the heavens that Babylonian astronomers once studied with patient devotion. Your footsteps echo softly through the corridor, though the stone seems to absorb the sound almost immediately, creating a sense of quiet intimacy. The echo feels warm, comforting, and fleeting, blending into the deeper silence that fills the space. The corridor's floor is smooth beneath your feet, shaped into gentle arcs that guide your movement forward without abrupt transitions or sharp contours. Even the footsteps feel as though they follow a natural path that has been shaped by centuries of quiet journeys along this same route. As the corridor curves more deeply inward, you notice small alcoves carved into the walls at regular intervals. Each alcove contains a stone basin shaped with remarkable precision, though the basins are shallow and filled only with the faint reflections of moonlight cast from above. In ancient times, these basins may have held offerings of water, oils, or sacred herbs used during ceremonies devoted to the study of celestial cycles. Even now, their presence adds a quiet, sacred dignity to the corridor, an unspoken reminder that this passage once led scholars and priests toward their long nights of observation and reflection beneath the temple's open skies. The deeper you walk, the more pronounced the carvings become. Some sections of the wall are covered in delicate constellations, tiny indentations representing stars arranged in the exact patterns once charted by Babylonian astronomers. These patterns flow across the stone in smooth sequences, following the natural curvature of the corridor. When the moonlight touches them, they shimmer faintly, creating the impression of a soft, drifting sky suspended within the ancient passage. The effect is gentle, mesmerizing, and profoundly peaceful, as though the corridor itself holds a quiet echo of the constellations that still shine above the desert outside. As you continue, the soundscape shifts ever so slightly. A faint resonance begins to drift through the air, soft, harmonic vibrations that seem to emanate from the stone walls. The sound is subtle, almost imperceptible, but its presence adds a gentle, calming depth to the atmosphere. It resembles the faraway hum of wind passing through hidden channels, or the delicate resonance created by movement deep within the ancient foundations of the city. The vibrations blend with the scent of incense and the cool breath of the corridor, forming an enveloping calm that settles into your senses. Ahead, the corridor widens slightly, revealing a small, circular chamber where the moonlight descends in a concentrated beam through an opening directly above. The light falls onto a polished stone disc set into the center of the floor, illuminating it in a soft, shimmering glow. The disc is etched with intricate lines that form a celestial calendar, an ancient map of lunar cycles, solstices, equinoxes, and the long, sweeping paths of stars across the sky. Though much of the detail has faded, the overall design still carries the quiet elegance of a tool once used by scholars to measure time not through numbers, but through light, shadow, and the movements of the heavens. You pause at the edge of the chamber, watching as the moonlight reflects off the polished stone. The glow expands slowly outward, forming gentle, rippling highlights that drift across the floor like thin currents of silver water. The quietness of the chamber deepens, absorbing every sound with such softness that even your breathing feels like part of the silence rather than a break from it. The temperature here is slightly cooler, and the air carries a faint metallic scent, perhaps from the ancient minerals in the stone. As you stand in the chamber, the carvings around the walls seem to come alive under the moonlight. Long, spiraling lines weave together to form sweeping patterns that resemble drifting galaxies. These carvings guide your gaze upward toward the curved ceiling, where faint traces of paint remain, soft strokes of indigo, gold, and pale silver that once formed a grand depiction of the night sky. Though faded, the colors still hold a gentle beauty that feels almost dreamlike, echoing the ancient belief that the sky was a vast, living tapestry woven by the gods. The longer you remain in the chamber, the more the serenity settles into your senses. Time feels slower here, stretched in a long, peaceful moments. The faint hum in the walls harmonizes with the soft glow of the moonlight and the cool stillness of the air, creating a gentle environment in which thought itself begins to drift into quiet currents. This is a place designed for contemplation, where the mind can rest fully within the calm of the night. Beyond the chamber, the corridor continues downward in a gentle slope. You step forward once again, guided by the soft glow that stretches ahead. The walls narrow slightly, but the ceiling rises into a series of arches that form elegant curves overhead. Each arch is carved with symbols that represent phases of the moon: thin crescents, rounded spheres, and shapes resembling drifting shadows. These symbols repeat in rhythmic sequences, as though mapping the passage of time in soft, continuous cycles. As you walk, the air grows warmer, touched by the faint scent of oil lamps that once burned in the deeper sanctuaries. The warmth is gentle, like the memory of a distant fire. The ground beneath your feet feels slightly softer, shaped into smooth, rounded contours that cradle each step in quiet comfort. The shadows along the walls deepen in color, forming rich gradients that blend seamlessly with the soft glow of the moon. The corridor eventually curves into a wider space where the ceiling opens into a tall dome. The dome is carved with concentric circles that originate from its center and expand outward in delicate patterns. These circles catch the moonlight, reflecting it in soft, shimmering arcs across the floor. The entire space feels like the inside of a great, ancient instrument designed to measure the harmony of the cosmos. At the far end of the dome, a gentle passage leads deeper into the heart of the temple quarter, toward chambers of reflection, observation, and the quiet study of the night sky. You move forward with calm steps, carried by the quiet rhythm of the ancient world, deeper into the sleeping heart of Babylon. The passage that extends beyond the domed chamber narrows into a long hall whose architecture shifts subtly, replacing the ascending celestial arches with shapes that feel warmer, more grounded, and gently luminous. The shift is not abrupt, but gradual, like the soft blending of dusk in a night, where one shade melts seamlessly into another. The air begins to hold a faint glow, not from lanterns or moonlight, but from a natural radiance that seems to emanate directly from the stone, as though the walls themselves retain a quiet memory of ancient illumination. As you move deeper, the light grows more defined, yet remains incredibly soft, casting the corridor in a delicate, warm hue reminiscent of the final embers of a distant fire. The stones along the walls appear smoother here, polished by centuries of gentle contact, shaped not by force, but by the unhurried passage of time. Their surfaces reflect the warm radiance in subtle gradients, creating a calm atmosphere where shadows soften into gentle curves rather than sharp edges. Every part of the hall feels designed to slow the breath, settle the senses, and quiet the inner voice. The ceiling arches high above in elegant, elongated curves, creating a sense of spaciousness that contrasts gently with the narrower passages behind you. These arches are carved with flowing motifs, lines that resemble drifting clouds, slow-moving water, and the undulating patterns of desert wind passing across soft dunes. Each motif flows into the next with seamless continuity, forming long sequences that guide the eyes along gentle paths of motion. The softness of these patterns encourages your attention to wander freely without urgency, creating a soothing drift that calms the mind into a tranquil ease. As you walk further inside the hall, the floor begins to warm slightly under your steps, as though ancient currents of heat still flow beneath the stone. The warmth is gentle, not intense, and combines with the soft luminosity of the walls to create an enveloping sense of comfort. Your footsteps become nearly soundless, absorbed into the smooth, slightly warm surface that seems to cradle each movement with a tender, unhurried welcome. Soon, the corridor widens into an expansive hall bathed in a warm, amber glow. This is the Hall of Quiet Luminaries, a sanctuary that once served as a place of contemplation for those seeking wisdom from both the heavens above and the deep mysteries of the earth below. Even now, with centuries between the present and its ancient purpose, the hall retains a profound stillness that feels alive, a steady, calming pulse of presence that wraps gently around your senses. The hall is vast yet intimate, shaped into a long oval whose edges curve upward into a rounded ceiling that mirrors the curve below. The ceiling is carved in wide spirals that radiate from a central point, creating the illusion that the entire hall is in slow, continuous motion, drifting not forward or backward, but outward, like gentle waves of calm extending from an invisible heart at its center. These spirals glow faintly under the warm radiance, their shapes softened into serene gradients that guide your eyes across the vastness above in slow, meditative arcs. Along the hall's perimeter, tall columns rise from the floor in smooth, vertical sweeps. Each column is carved from a single piece of stone, its surface adorned with faint tracings resembling the delicate movement of reeds in a gently flowing river. When the warm light touches these tracings, they shimmer faintly, creating the impression of soft motion along the length of the columns. Their presence is silent, steady, grounding, like ancient trees standing in the quiet of a windless forest. Between the columns lie a series of recessed alcoves, each containing a small basin carved into the stone floor. These basins are filled with clear, still water that reflects the warm radiance like small pools of liquid amber. The reflections create elongated ripples of light that drift across the alcove's curved walls in slow, mesmerizing motions. The air around the basins feels slightly cooler, infused with a delicate vapor that rises from the water and softens the surrounding glow into gentle halos. In the center of the hall, a wide circular platform rises slightly above the floor. Its surface is smooth, polished, and warm under the ambient radiance. The platform is adorned with intricate carvings arranged in concentric rings, each ring depicting sweeping flows of wind, water, stars, and clouds, merging into a harmonious tapestry that symbolizes the ancient Babylonian understanding of the balance between earth and sky. The carvings invite slow contemplation, drawing your gaze into their gentle spirals. The air in the hall feels remarkably balanced, warm around the walls and ceiling, cooler near the basins, perfectly still in the central platform. This creates a layered calmness that settles naturally into your breath. Each inhalation feels deeper, each exhalation softer. The hall's quiet is not empty, but filled with a peaceful presence, like the stillness that descends after distant echoes have faded into the night. As you step onto the central platform, a soft whisper of warmth moves beneath your feet. The stone feels alive with a gentle, grounding energy that spreads upward through your legs and into your chest, easing any remaining tension. Standing at the platform center gives you a perfect view of the hall. The glowing walls, the flowing carvings, the shimmering reflections, the tall, silent columns. The entire room seems to breathe with calm. Above the platform, the dome reaches its highest point, where the warm radiance gathers into a concentrated glow that softens as it descends in wide, even gradients. This central light source appears to come from within the stone itself, as if ancient artisans discovered a way to capture sunlight, warm fire, or the gentle glow of oil lamps and preserve their essence in the architecture. The light is neither bright nor dim, but perfectly balanced, creating a serene atmosphere where every corner of the hall feels bathed in a comforting warmth. As you walk slowly along the platform, the spiraling carvings draw your gaze into their smooth, unbroken lines. The spirals widen and contract with gentle rhythm, encouraging a calm flow of thought that feels steady and peaceful. The quietness of the hall deepens further, absorbing every faint sound, your breath, your movement, even the soft rustle of the air around you. Beyond the platform, the hall extends into another softly curving passage at the far end. This passage leads deeper into the temple's inner sanctuaries, toward chambers shaped for reflection, for rest, for quiet communion with the ancient past. The glow from the hall of quiet luminaries follows you as you approach the passage, illuminating your steps with steady warmth. You pause at the entrance to the next corridor, allowing the gentle atmosphere of the hall to settle fully into your senses. The warmth, the calm light, the soft carvings, the still water, all of it remains imprinted in your breath as you prepare to continue deeper into Babylon's sleeping heart. And with a slow, quiet step, you move forward into the deeper chambers of the ancient night. The passage that leads away from the hall of quiet luminaries narrows into a gentle corridor whose smooth stone walls curve inward with graceful precision, as though the entire structure has been carved by flowing water rather than human hands. The warm radiance from the hall lingers behind you, gradually softening into a faint glow that follows your steps for several moments before fading into a quiet, muted amber hue. This soft glow continues to reflect off the polished floor, illuminating your path with a warmth that grows more subtle and soothing the deeper you move into the corridor. The air here feels slightly cooler, touched by the delicate presence of underground currents that drift slowly through hidden channels beneath the temple complex. These currents carry with them faint traces of mineral notes, a whisper of moisture, and a subtle earthiness that blends harmoniously with a lingering scent of incense from earlier chambers. As the corridor curves inward, the cool air transitions into a gentle equilibrium, neither warm nor cold, but perfectly tempered to quiet the senses and deepen the calm within your breath. The corridor walls begin to rise higher as you walk, curving upward into a series of overlapping arches that create the impression of moving beneath an ancient, protective canopy. Each arch is carved with delicate motifs, long, sweeping lines that resemble drifting sand patterns, soft ripples across shallow water, and a faint suggestion of stars reflected upon a still surface. These motifs are arranged in slow, continuous sequences that guide your gaze forward with steady, unhurried motion. Under the limited glow, the carvings appear to shift gently, their shadows deepening and softening in rhythmic patterns that soothe the mind. As you continue your steps, the faint hum felt earlier in the celestial corridor returns in a slightly different tone, more muted, more grounded, resonating from deep within the stone rather than along its surface. The vibration is soft, barely perceptible, but its presence creates a sensation of moving through a space that is not empty, but gently alive with ancient memory. The stone seems to hold echoes of countless nights, preserving the quiet breath of a world that once moved slowly with rituals, harmony, and reverence. The corridor opens gradually into a spacious chamber whose shape is not circular like the Hall of Quiet Luminaries, but softly hexagonal, with each wall curving inward in a gentle concave arc. This is the Chamber of Whispering Stone, a place long used by Babylonian scholars and mystics as a sanctuary for deep reflection, where the natural acoustics of the room created soft, calming reverberations that aided meditation and contemplation. The moment you step inside, the atmosphere shifts into deeper stillness. The air feels thicker with quiet, as though the chamber absorbs even the faint hum of the corridor behind you. Warm, amber-toned light rises from subtle recesses carved into the lower walls, creating a soft glow that fills the room without revealing its source. The light spreads gently across the chamber, illuminating each surface with smooth, balanced gradients of gold and muted peach that feel like the last moments of a sunset. The floor of the chamber is polished into a seamless plane of smooth, reflective stone. It mirrors the warm glow above it with such clarity that it appears almost fluid, like a tranquil pool of golden water formed from ancient light. As you walk forward, your reflection stretches faintly beneath your steps, elongated by the curvature of stone. The reflection moves in slow, gentle distortions, creating subtle waves that follow your motion and subside with serene ease. Around the chamber's perimeter, 6 shallow alcoves are carved into the concave walls, each containing a smooth, upright stone shaped into a slender, tapering obelisk. These stones are not tall, perhaps the height of your torso, but their surfaces carry intricate carvings arranged in spiraling lines that rise from their base toward their rounded tops. The carvings shimmer faintly under the soft glow, their shadows weaving delicate patterns that appear to drift slowly across the stone surface. The chamber earns its name from these 6 carved obelisks. As the faint breeze from the corridor flows gently into the chamber, it moves subtly around each obelisk, creating soft, harmonic tones that resonate in long, soothing waves. The sound is incredibly subtle, barely above a whisper, and yet, because of the chamber's unique acoustics, it fills the room with a calming presence that feels like the hum of distant wind moving across an empty desert plain at night. The tones vary slightly from one obelisk to another, creating a gentle harmony where each whispering sound blends with the next. The effect is peaceful, balanced, and deeply grounding. The hum rises and falls in slow currents, forming a natural rhythm that encourages your breath to align with its tranquil cadence. You walk slowly toward the center of the chamber, where a wide circular platform is set into the floor. Its surface is slightly elevated, shaped from a single piece of pale stone that contrasts softly with the warmer hues surrounding it. The platform surface is carved with symmetrical patterns, long, looping curves that resemble the gentle movement of air flowing through open space, merging and dividing in a continuous, flowing dance. These carvings are shallow but precise, illuminated delicately by the ambient glow, creating shadows that drift with your movement. The air at the center of the platform feels different, calmer, more aligned with the soft resonance of the whispering stone. As you stand upon it, the harmonic tones seem to gather subtly around you, settling into a slow, balanced pulse that echoes faintly through your chest. The sensation is not loud or physical, but gentle and internal, like a quiet reminder to breathe deeper, slower, more peacefully. Above the platform, the ceiling rises into a high, pointed dome. The dome is adorned with delicate carvings arranged in long, radiating lines that start at its peak and descend gradually toward the edges. These lines resemble thin rays of light, though no actual light flows from them. Instead, the soft glow from the walls catches on their edges, creating faint, shimmering highlights that drift downward like suspended dust illuminated by a distant flame. The entire chamber feels as though it exists outside of time. Every sound is softened, every surface shaped to cradle the senses, every motion within the room absorbed and reflected with careful tranquility. Even your thoughts seem to slow, settling into long, peaceful streams that drift through the quiet atmosphere like currents of warm air. As you remain in the chamber, the whispering tones deepen subtly, forming long harmonic strands that glide through the room with slow, meditative grace. They mingle with the warmth of the air, the soft glow of the light, the smooth textures of the stone, and the faint scent of ancient earth to create a perfect balance. A sanctuary designed not only for stillness, but for the quiet expansion of awareness. Far along the chamber's opposite wall lies a narrow passage framed by two tall, slender pillars. The pillars are carved with symbols representing wind and flowing water, guiding travelers toward chambers used for deeper reflection. The passage itself glows faintly, its walls gently illuminated by the same warm amber radiance that fills the chamber behind you. As you approach the passage, the whispering tones begin to soften, gradually fading into a gentle hum that settles behind you like a quiet breath. The chamber's warmth remains wrapped around your senses, guiding your steps forward. And with one slow, steady movement, you step beyond the chamber of whispering stone, deeper into Babylon's silent, sleeping sanctuaries. The passage that extends beyond the chamber of whispering stone descends in a smooth, gentle slope, guiding you toward deeper parts of the ancient temple complex. The warm glow that filled the previous chambers follows you only for a short distance before gradually softening into a cooler, more muted radiance. This transition is not abrupt, but gradual, like the way twilight dissolves slowly into night. The air begins to feel slightly denser, infused with the subtle scent of ancient minerals and a faint hint of moisture carried from hidden channels farther below. The corridor walls shift subtly in texture as you walk, transitioning from the polished stone of the whispering chamber into surfaces shaped by long, shallow grooves. These grooves run in flowing, winding patterns from floor to ceiling, creating the impression of shadows caught in motion. Curves that resemble drifting smoke, rippling water, or long strands of silk carried by a gentle breeze. When the dim light touches these grooves, the shadows deepen in elegant gradients, giving the entire passage a fluid, dreamlike quality. Your footsteps fall softly upon the smooth floor, which has been shaped into gentle waves that rise and dip in barely perceptible rhythms. These slight curves encourage a slower, more deliberate pace, guiding your movements with natural ease. The faint hum from the chamber behind you has faded into near silence, replaced by a new kind of stillness, a deep, velvety quiet that feels almost tangible, filling the air around you with a calm, comforting weight. As you walk deeper, the corridor widens into a vast, softly luminous hall. The lighting here is extremely delicate, rising from subtle seams in the floor and lower walls rather than from above. This creates an effect where the entire space seems lit from below, casting upward glows that gently illuminate the ceiling in faint, drifting gradients. The ceiling itself is carved into sweeping shapes that resemble slow-moving clouds, captured in a moment of serene suspension. This is the sanctuary of flowing shadows, one of the temple's most tranquil and contemplative chambers. Ancient Babylonian scholars once came here during the quietest hours of the night to meditate on the nature of movement, of wind, of water, of time, of the motions of the stars. The chamber was designed not to reflect light, but to soften it into gentle, shifting shadows that drift slowly across every surface in the room. The spacious hall extends far to both sides, but its design feels intimate rather than vast. The floor is smooth, gently curved, shaped into long, flowing arcs that resemble the bed of a calm river. These arcs guide your steps inward toward a central path where the light glows a little brighter. Along both sides of the hall, shallow channels are carved into the floor, each filled with clear, still water that reflects the dim light like threads of silver glass. The water is perfectly calm, and its surface mirrors the thin waves of shadow that glide across the ceiling above. As you walk along the central path, the faint sound of moving air reaches your ears, so subtle that it resembles the softest sigh. The sound is created by hidden vents along the upper walls, where cool night breezes drift slowly through the sanctuary. When this air touches the grooved surfaces along the walls and the carved ceiling above, the shadows begin to shift in smooth, graceful motions. They do not move quickly or erratically. Instead, they drift in long, slow sweeps like the gentle expansion and contraction of breath. The interplay of light and shadow forms a soft, rhythmic flow that surrounds you from all sides. The shadows stretch into elongated shapes that glide across the curved floor, then drift upward along the walls before dissolving near the ceiling into delicate wisps. These shadows feel alive, yet peaceful, shaped entirely by the natural motion of air and the thoughtful architecture of the chamber. Your breath begins to follow the slow rhythm of the space. Inhalations deepen gradually, drawing in the cool, mineral-scented air, while exhalations lengthen into soft, unhurried streams. The sanctuary's atmosphere settles into your senses with calming continuity, easing every thought that arises into long, drifting currents that dissolve gently into the surrounding quiet. Farther into the hall, the path widens into a circular clearing where the floor's gentle arcs converge into a low, rounded platform. The platform rises only slightly above the surrounding stone, its surface carved into concentric rings that ripple outward like waves formed by a single drop of water. These rings glow faintly under the upward radiance, creating soft, luminous lines that guide the eye toward the center. You step onto the platform, feeling the stone's warmth spread subtly beneath your feet. The carvings are shallow but smooth, forming graceful curves that lead the gaze outward in slow, calming spirals. Standing here gives you a clear view of the entire sanctuary. The arcs of the floor, the stillness of the water channels, the flowing shadows along the walls, the warm gradients along the ceiling. The air feels completely still at the center of the platform, as though the gentle movements of wind that guide the shadows drift around you without touching your skin. This stillness deepens the soundscape, allowing even the faintest whispers of the sanctuary to become part of your awareness. The quiet breath of air moving through vents, the subtle shifting of shadows, the soft resonance of water resting in the channels. Beyond the platform, the sanctuary extends into a deeper section where the ceiling lowers slightly and the shadows become more pronounced. The passage leading there is framed by two tall, narrow pillars whose surfaces are carved with patterns resembling long, flowing ribbons. These ribbons appear to twist gently around the pillars, though the stone itself remains perfectly still. The lighting near this passage is softer, forming a dim, amber glow that deepens into rich shades near the floor. As you move toward the pillars, the shadows along the walls grow longer, merging into flowing streams that shift in slow, circular motions. Their movement feels hypnotic, drawing the mind into deeper stillness. The scent of cool stone and faint mineral currents becomes more noticeable, carried gently by the subtle breeze that flows through the sanctuary. Beyond the pillars, the pathway slopes downward again, curving into a narrow corridor where the light grows dimmer. The corridor's ceiling is low, creating a sense of quiet protection, like stepping beneath a gently curving, arching shell. The walls are carved with thin, vertical lines that resemble soft rainfall, drifting down a smooth surface. These lines guide your gaze downward, encouraging the breath to fall into deeper, steadier patterns. The air here is cool and hushed, holding a faint sense of anticipation, not of anything dramatic or disruptive, but of deeper, quiet awaiting ahead. Your steps become slower, more grounded, as though guided by the natural rhythm of the stone beneath your feet. At the end of the corridor, a soft light begins to appear, pale, cool, and steady. It shines from the chamber that lies just beyond, inviting you deeper into the sanctuary's hidden heart. And with a calm, unhurried breath, you step forward toward the light, carrying with you the flowing shadows of Babylon's silent night. The pale glow that appears at the end of the descending corridor grows gradually brighter as you move closer, though it never becomes harsh or sudden. Instead, it expands softly, like the gentle unfolding of light through a thin veil of mist. The air begins to cool in a subtle, refreshing way, carrying with it a faint lunar clarity, as though the stone itself has absorbed the quiet radiance of moonlight across countless centuries and now releases it back into the air in calm, steady breaths. The corridor floor becomes smoother the deeper you descend, transitioning into long, sweeping curves that resemble calm ripples stretched into extended waves. These gentle contours guide each step into slow harmony, allowing your movements to settle into a steady rhythm. As you reach the final bend of the corridor, the faint glow gathers into a concentrated silver-blue radiance, illuminating the edges of the stone with delicate whispers of light. When you finally step beyond the last curve, the passage opens into a spacious chamber bathed entirely in soft lunar tones. This is the Chamber of the Lunar Veil, one of the temple's most tranquil and ethereal sanctuaries, designed not to honor celestial bodies with ceremony or sound, but to mimic the quiet purity of moonlight drifting across calm water. The chamber is oval in shape, its walls rising high into a sweeping dome that curves inward like the inside of an enormous, luminous shell. The entire space appears to glow gently from within. The walls emit a cool, silvery blue radiance, while the dome above reflects faint, shimmering patterns that ripple slowly across its surface. These patterns shift with such subtlety that they resemble the faintest breeze brushing against a pool of still water, sending small, elongated waves drifting toward the edges. The floor of the chamber mirrors the design above. It is carved into wide, gently flowing arcs that meet in the center of the room, forming a smooth, serene basin-like shape. A thin layer of water covers this central basin, so shallow that it forms only a delicate sheen across the carved stone. The water reflects the chamber's lunar radiance in soft glimmers that drift across the surface like floating threads of light. Your footsteps remain silent as you enter, absorbed instantly by the cool, smooth stone. The atmosphere deepens into an enveloping stillness, a silence so complete and gentle that even the slow rhythm of your breath feels like it blends with the greater quiet surrounding you. The air carries a faint, pure scent, reminiscent of night air touching cool stone, mingled with a hint of subtle minerals carried from subterranean springs beneath the temple. As you step closer to the reflective basin at the center, the surface of the water ripples faintly, not from your movement, but from a soft breath of air drifting down from unseen vents along the dome. The ripples expand into delicate, oval rings that move outward in slow, gentle sequences, each ring carrying a thin strand of reflected moonlight. The effect is hypnotic, drawing your gaze into their soft movement, encouraging each breath to lengthen into a tranquil, unhurried flow. Around the perimeter of the chamber, narrow ledges run along the base of the walls, carved with graceful, wave-like motifs. These ledges were once used by scholars who came here to observe the behavior of the reflected light on the water's surface, believing that the slow motion of shadows and glimmers revealed subtle truths about the cycles of the heavens. Even now, the chamber retains that same gentle rhythm, offering the mind a calm space to wander without direction, allowing thoughts to dissolve into quiet currents that drift across the still atmosphere. Above the basin, the dome reaches its highest point, where a circular opening, thin and perfectly smooth, allows a single beam of moonlight to descend directly into the chamber. This opening aligns only when the moon reaches certain positions in the sky. Yet on this night, its glow is steady and unmistakable, falling in a soft shaft of silver light that touches the surface of the water. The reflection creates a shimmering column that seems to rise and fall with the gentle ripples, forming a tranquil dance of light that deepens the serenity of the chamber. As you stand beneath that beam, the air feels cooler, clearer, and more finely balanced. The soft radiance settles against your skin, forming a gentle warmth despite its cool appearance. Your breath grows deeper, moving with the slow pulse of the chamber's light, as though each inhalation draws in the tranquility of moonlit air, and each exhalation releases anything that weighs upon your thoughts. Farther along the chamber's interior, the walls are adorned with faint, etched symbols, thin, elongated forms that resemble drifting strands of mist. These symbols were created not as messages or declarations, but as artistic reflections of the lunar veil itself, capturing the impression of soft moonlight moving through thin clouds. The carvings blend almost imperceptibly into the glowing stone, appearing and disappearing depending on the angle of the light. You move deeper into the chamber, your steps slow and steady, following the soft path carved into the floor's contour. The water within the basin widens along your side into shallow pools that reflect even more of the lunar glow, creating wide, glimmering expanses that resemble mirrored fragments of the night sky. The reflections shift gently with each subtle motion of air, forming slow waves that ripple outward in delicate, dreamlike patterns. The chamber's acoustics are unlike any of the previous rooms. No echoes linger here. Every sound, your breath, the faint movement of air, the soft ripple of water, dissolves instantly into the stillness, as though the chamber embraces each sound and folds it quietly into its luminous calm. This creates a sensation of profound softness, as if the entire space is wrapped in a tender veil of silence. A gently rising platform stands near the far end of the chamber. Its surface is carved into long, smooth arcs that resemble moonlit dunes. The platform is illuminated by the cool radiance from the dome above, and its presence feels like the natural continuation of the chamber's quiet flow. As you ascend its shallow steps, the temperature softens into a perfect balance, neither cool nor warm, but weightless like the air just before dawn. From the platform's height, the entire chamber appears like a tranquil sea of light and shadow. The ripples on the water below form slow-moving rings that drift outward endlessly. The dome's shifting patterns flow like drifting clouds across a night sky. The walls glow with steady lunar breath, and the central column of moonlight falls like a quiet thread connecting earth and sky, stone and darkness, breath and stillness. You stand there for a while, wrapped in the serene glow, feeling the chamber's tranquility settle deeper into your senses. Time stretches into slow, gentle currents, unrushed, unbroken, effortless. At the far end of the chamber, a narrow opening descends into the next sanctuary. It glows faintly with a softer, warmer light, promising the continuation of the quiet journey through Babylon's sleeping heart. You take a final, calm breath, allowing the chamber's lunar stillness to settle gently into your mind. Then, with unhurried steps, you move toward the next passage, carrying the soft glow of the lunar veil with you into the deeper chambers of the ancient night. The faint, warm glow that appears beyond the narrow opening at the end of the lunar veil chamber grows gradually stronger as you approach, though it never overwhelms or sharpens. Instead, it emerges like the first soft breaths of warmth rising from distant embers, blending seamlessly with the lingering coolness of the lunar light behind you. The air begins to shift into a subtle equilibrium, part warmth, part gentle chill, creating a sensation like stepping slowly from moonlight into the tranquil memory of a sheltered fire. The passage slopes downward in a smooth, unbroken curve. Its stone walls transition from the cool silver blue of the lunar veil into warmer hues, soft ambers, muted golds, and delicate tones resembling the final glimmers of a distant sunset reflected across polished stone. These colors glow faintly from within the rock, creating gentle gradients that ripple along the walls as you move deeper. The light does not come from any visible torch or flame, but from the stone itself, infused over centuries with the faint warmth of oils, resin, and ceremonial fires once kept here during quiet rituals. As you walk farther inside, the floor becomes slightly warmer under your feet, shaped in a long, flowing contours that rise and fall in shallow waves. These curves guide your steps like a calm tide, encouraging your body into a slower, steadier rhythm. With each breath, the atmosphere grows more soothing, The traces of mineral coolness fade into a soft, comforting warmth that wraps around your senses like a gentle cloak. The corridor eventually widens into a broad hall shaped with exquisite precision. This is the Hall of Embered Echoes, a chamber once used by ancient Babylonian scholars to contemplate the balance of warmth and sound, how subtle vibrations could resonate within stone, wood, and air, carrying messages not through words but through calm, harmonic presence. When you step into the hall, the first sensation that greets you is the soft warmth radiating upward from the floor. The stone here is polished into a smooth, rounded pattern reminiscent of glowing coals beneath thin ash. Though no fire burns, the warmth is steady and comforting, spreading slowly through your feet and legs until it settles into your breath. The effect is grounding, soothing, and deeply calming. The hall is long and oval, with walls rising in gentle curves that narrow slightly as they reach the ceiling. These walls are carved with wide, sweeping motifs that resemble drifting ribbons of heated air, thin, elongated patterns that flow upward in vanishing trails. The carvings catch the warm glow and cast faint, elongated shadows that shift subtly with your movement. These shadows drift across the walls like soft breaths of heat rising from smoldering embers. The ceiling is shaped into a series of overlapping arches, each one carved with patterns resembling soot trails left behind by ancient flames. Though purely decorative, these trails give the impression of gentle motion, as though the warmth radiating through the room moves along the curves in slow, swirling currents. These currents seem to rise and fall in a meditative rhythm, deepening the hall's enveloping calm. Around the hall's edges, tall stone pillars stand in a gentle circle. Unlike the cool, smooth columns of the upper sanctuaries, these pillars carry a faint, warm texture, as though the stone has absorbed centuries of gentle heat. Their surfaces are etched with swirling lines that mimic the slow drift of smoke. When the faint glow touches them, the patterns shimmer softly, giving the impression of embers stirring beneath a thin layer of ash. As you walk along the hall, the quietness deepens into a soft resonance, a subtle vibration that travels through the stone. It is not a sound you hear with your ears, but a calm, grounding hum you feel through your feet and chest. The hum remains steady, unchanging, like the heart of a sleeping fire still alive beneath the ashes. This faint resonance creates the sensation of being held gently within the embrace of ancient stone, as if the hall itself breathes in warm, slow currents. In the center of the chamber lies a large, circular depression in the floor, a shallow basin carved with remarkable precision. Its shape resembles the glowing bed of a long-extinguished hearth. The basin's surface is smooth and warm, reflecting the soft radiance of the surrounding stone in gentle, amber waves. Thin lines of carved patterns radiate outward from the basin in long, sweeping arcs, resembling the gentle expansion of heat across a quiet surface. You step toward the basin, and as you do, the resonance beneath your feet grows slightly stronger, not louder or sharper, but deeper, like the warm hum of air inside a sheltered chamber. The air above the basin feels slightly warmer still, though never uncomfortably so. It carries a faint scent of ancient resins, subtle notes of cedar, warm soil, and the remnants of long-extinguished oils once used during rituals meant to calm the mind and guide the breath into slow, meditative patterns. The warmth settles gently around your shoulders and chest. Your breathing deepens naturally. The hall seems designed to draw away tension, inviting the body to loosen its hold on wakefulness and drift toward tranquil stillness. Along the hall's perimeter, small alcoves are carved into the lower walls. Each alcove once held shallow bowls of glowing embers that illuminated the space during nighttime ceremonies. Though the bowls now sit empty, the stone around them contains faint streaks of darker color, subtle traces of heat that once rose from the glowing coals. These traces appear like soft brushstrokes of shadow, merging with the hall's warm radiance. As you move farther into the chamber, the resonance of the stone shifts slightly, forming gentle waves that rise and fall with your steps. The vibration creates a sensation like a soft echo moving beneath the floor, an echo not of sound, but of warmth. The walls absorb this resonance and release it in subtle pulses, creating a slow, rhythmic breath that fills the entire hall. Near the far end of the chamber lies a tall, curved archway. Its surface glows with a deeper shade of amber, enriched by faint lines resembling the soft glow of a dying fire. The archway frames a narrow passage beyond which an even deeper glow shines, warmer and more inviting than the light of the embered hall. Before continuing forward, you pause one final moment in the hall. The warmth, the resonance, the soft flowing shadows, all gather around you in a serene embrace. The calm settles deep within your body, soothing every breath into long, expansive motions. For several still seconds, it feels as though the entire chamber breathes with you, guiding you into deeper relaxation. With a slow, quiet step, you move toward the glowing archway, ready to continue your journey into the deeper sanctuaries where Babylon's ancient warmth blends with the gentle darkness of the sleeping earth. The archway that beckons you from the far end of the hall of embered echoes glows with a deeper shade of amber, a quiet radiance that seems to breathe softly in the dimness like the slow pulse of a sleeping ember. As you step toward it, the air around you begins to shift once more, subtle at first, then gradually becoming a tangible transition, as though the warmth of the hall gently recedes behind you while a different kind of calm settles ahead. The passage beyond the archway slopes downward in a long, smooth descent. Its stone walls transition into richer tones, deep honey, warm gold, muted shades of burnt umber, creating an atmosphere that feels as though you are moving deeper into the protected interior of an ancient vessel warmed slowly over countless nights. The air grows heavier in a comforting way, infused with faint traces of ancient resins that linger like soft whispers along the walls. Cedar, amber oil, and the faint sweetness of sun-dried herbs that once perfumed the deeper sanctuaries of the temple. Your footsteps remain steady and silent, absorbed instantly into the warm stone beneath your feet. The floor is carved into gentle contours that dip and rise, shaped like the slow folds of sand beneath a calm wind. These natural curves guide your steps without any resistance, encouraging your body to settle into a slow, rhythmic pace. The air feels still, dense with quiet, and the faint warmth that rises from below wraps around your legs like a soft, steady current. The lighting changes as you descend. There are no torches, no lamps, no visible source of fire, only a soft amber glow that seems to emanate from within the stone itself. It is a glow without sharpness, without flicker, spreading across the corridor in smooth, steady gradients that deepen the farther you go. The walls reflect this glow with gentle warmth, creating the impression that the entire passage is lit by the quiet heart of the earth. As the corridor curves deeper, you begin to hear a faint sound, a soft, distant resonance that resembles the low hum of warm air moving slowly through hidden caverns. It is not loud nor insistent, but subtle, gentle, and deeply soothing, like a steady, distant breath rising from the depths of the temple. The sound blends seamlessly with the warmth of the air and the steady glow of the walls, creating an atmosphere that feels alive yet perfectly calm. The passage widens as you reach a deeper point, revealing the entrance to a vast chamber carved into the earth itself. This is the Amber Grotto, one of the oldest and most secluded sanctuaries within the Babylonian complex. It is a place shaped not only by human hands, but by centuries of slow geological movement, where natural stone merged with ancient architecture to create a sanctuary that feels both crafted and born. The moment you step inside, a profound stillness settles around you. The grotto expands in a wide, circular shape, its domed ceiling rising into a sweeping curve that disappears into soft shadows. The stone here is darker and richer in tone, deep amber marbled with subtle streaks of dark gold, reflecting the gentle glow in warm, velvety gradients. The air is warmer than in the previous chamber, yet perfectly balanced, carrying no weight or staleness, only a comforting heat that drifts slowly across your skin like the quiet breath of the earth itself. In the center of the grotto lies a wide, shallow depression filled with smooth, rounded stones. These stones vary in size, from small pebble shapes to larger, palm-sized forms, each one polished naturally over time by the slow movement of subterranean water flows. They glisten faintly under the ambient glow, their surfaces reflecting warm light that ripples softly across the chamber. As a soft current of air moves across them, they emit a faint rustling sound, gentle, subtle, reminiscent of sand shifting beneath a slow, distant tide. Along the outer edges of the grotto, natural fissures in the stone allow thin streams of warm air to drift upward. These streams create faint, wavering currents that rise toward the domed ceiling, where they merge into slow, swirling patterns. The patterns are visible only in the way the light bends, forming soft distortions that drift across the upper part of the chamber in smooth, continuous waves. Watching these subtle movements brings a feeling of quiet release, as though each drifting ripple carries away any lingering tension. The grotto floor is shaped into layered terraces that slope gently toward the central depression. These terraces are covered with the same smooth, warm stone, their surfaces slightly rounded by the passage of time. Each terrace forms a wide, shallow step that offers natural places to pause and rest. As you move across one of the terraces, the warmth beneath your feet becomes more pronounced, spreading up through your legs in slow, grounding currents. The acoustics of the grotto are remarkable. Every small movement, a shift of stone, a gentle breath, the faint touch of your foot upon the ground, resonates softly through the chamber, not as an echo, but as a warm vibration that joins the natural hum beneath the floor. This hum seems to originate from deep within the earth, a continuous, ancient rhythm shaped by slow geological currents and a lingering memory of rituals once practiced here. As you stand on the terrace nearest the center, you notice a faint shimmer of heat rising from one of the natural fissures along the wall. The shimmer bends the amber light in soft, wavering shapes that drift upward like delicate curtains. Moving closer, you feel the faintest hint of warm air brushing against your skin, gentle, soothing, reminiscent of standing near a quiet, sheltered hearth after the flames have subsided. To the left of the grotto, a natural alcove extends into a smaller chamber. Its entrance is framed by two vertical ridges of stone that curve inward at the top, forming an archway shaped by time rather than design. The alcove glows with a deeper warmth, almost golden, as if the stone there holds a higher concentration of ancient heat. The air feels slightly thicker near the alcove, infused with a warm mineral scent that seems to settle into your breath with calming ease. Moving slowly toward the alcove, you feel the temperature increase by just a degree or two. Not sharp, but gently enveloping, like stepping into a naturally warmed sanctuary hidden deep within the earth. The alcove itself is small and round, its stone walls marbled with bands of deeper amber that shimmer faintly. The floor dips into a shallow bowl shape filled with fine sand warmed by the earth beneath. The sand glows softly, and as the warm air drifts across it, faint shifting patterns appear, soft waves that resemble the calm rise and fall of a sleeping breath. You kneel near the warm sand for a moment, the heat rising gently around your hands and face. The warmth is steady, tranquil, and deeply grounding. It invites the mind to relax, the body to soften, and the breath to slow. The simplicity of the space, its warmth, its quiet hum, its subtle glow, creates a comfort that feels ancient and intimate, as if this alcove has cradled countless travelers in its gentle embrace over centuries. Returning to the main grotto, you take one slow breath, feeling the combined warmth of the sand, the stone, and the faint currents of heated air settling deeper into your senses. The sanctuary feels alive, not with activity, but with presence, a quiet, enduring pulse rooted deep within the earth. At the far end of the grotto, a wide opening leads into another descending corridor. This passage glows with a dimmer shade of amber, blending slowly into deeper golds and muted browns that hint at chambers farther below. The air near the opening feels warmer still, shaping a gentle anticipation for the sanctuaries that await beyond. With one last glance at the warm, tranquil heart of the Amber Grotto, you begin moving toward the next passage, carrying its deep stillness and warmth with you into the ancient night of Babylon. The corridor leading away from the Amber Grotto descends in a slow, fluid slope, shaped so gently that each step feels as though it carries you deeper into a resting breath exhaled by the earth itself. The warmth of the grotto follows you for several moments, lingering like a soft cloak around your shoulders before gradually giving way to a different kind of calm, cooler, quieter, infused with the subtle touch of hidden waters moving somewhere in the depths below. The stone walls transition into darker, smoother surfaces, polished not by human hands, but by centuries of natural currents that passed through these passages long before the temple was carved around them. Their colors shift into deep grays layered with soft streaks of muted blue and silver, resembling the flow of water seen beneath moonlight. The air grows cooler with each step, carrying a faint mineral scent mixed with a delicate freshness found near underground springs. The passage widens slowly, opening into a softly illuminated cavern whose vastness is immediately felt rather than seen. A gentle blue glow radiates from low along the walls, rising in a steady gradients that meet the shadows above. The ceiling is high, so high that the light never reaches it fully, leaving the upper darkness to blend into a soft, velvety void that enhances the cavern's tranquility. This is the Cavern of Sleeping Currents, a place where water, stone, and quiet converge into a sanctuary of profound stillness. A broad, smooth path extends into the cavern, bordered on both sides by shallow pools of clear, unmoving water. The pools reflect the blue glow with such clarity that they appear deeper than they truly are, like windows into a calm, submerged world. The reflections drift in slow, subtle motions as the air shifts gently overhead. The faintest breeze touches the water surface, creating delicate ripples that expand outward like soft breaths released into a quiet night. Your footsteps remain soundless on the polished stone, absorbed effortlessly by the cavern's vast stillness. Each step guides your breathing into deeper rhythms, aligning your inhale and exhale with the slow expansion of the ripples beside you. The water carries a faint murmur, barely audible, like threads of sound woven through silence. Though the cavern is quiet, it is not empty. It is filled with the soft presence of sleeping currents, hidden beneath stone and time, moving in rhythms too slow to hear, but easy to feel. As you walk farther along the central path, the pools widen into a broad expanse of shallow, interconnected basins. The glowing stone beneath the water creates gentle gradients that shift from pale blue to deeper ultramarine as the pools stretch toward the far edges of the cavern. The air grows cooler, fresh, soothing, its touch like the first breath of a night wind after a warm day. Above the pools, long, thin stalactites descend from the unseen ceiling in delicate forms sculpted by water over centuries. They glimmer faintly under the cavern's low glow, casting elongated reflections onto the surface below. The reflections drift in slow, hypnotic sweeps that ripple outward through the water in continuous, peaceful waves. You pause near one of the basins, noticing how the water is perfectly still until the faint breath of the cavern brushes across it, sending tiny ripples outward in wide, expanding circles. These circles merge with others, forming gentle patterns that shift endlessly. The patterns resemble soft undulations of silk drifting across a still surface, never hurried, never interrupted, only existing in smooth, unbroken continuity. Beyond the basin lies a gently rising platform carved from the same cool stone. The platform has been shaped into wide arcs, its surface slightly elevated above the pools. You step onto it, feeling the stone's coolness spread slowly upward through your body, a calming, grounding sensation that balances the warmth still lingering from the amber grotto. The platform offers a broad view of the cavern, revealing how the glowing stone, the still water, and the drifting shadows all merge into a single, tranquil expanse. Toward the cavern's center stands a remarkable formation, an enormous column of stone that rises from the water below to meet the ceiling above. Its surface is carved by nature into long, vertical striations that resemble the slow descent of rain over time. The stone glows faintly from within, illuminated by mineral deposits that seem to store fragments of the cavern's soft blue radiance. These deposits create thin, glowing branches that grow upward like the roots of an inverted tree. As the cool air drifts through the cavern, the light across the column shifts subtly, forming slow, sweeping gradients that glide along its surface. This movement is barely perceptible but deeply soothing, encouraging the eyes to follow the gentle ascent of the glowing lines. The column's presence anchors the cavern with quiet dignity, standing as a monument to time measured not in years or centuries, but in the unbroken motion of water shaping stone. Moving deeper still, the path leads toward a natural alcove where the water becomes more active, not turbulent, but animated by a slow, steady current flowing beneath the stone. The sound here is slightly more audible, a soft, rhythmic pulse that resembles the slow heartbeat of the earth. The current moves with such gentle persistence that its sound blends into the cavern's larger silence, like threads of a quiet melody stitched into stillness. The alcove is bathed in slightly brighter blue light, revealing the smooth curvature of its stone walls. These walls hold layers of mineral deposits shaped into delicate ridges that resemble the lines left by sand after tides recede. The ridges curve upward and outward, capturing the faint glow and reflecting it in soft patterns that ripple with the cavern's airflow. The effect is mesmerizing, like watching moonlit clouds drift across water in slow, harmonic motion. As you stand near the alcove, the coolness of the air becomes more pronounced, not overwhelming, but refreshing, inviting you to breathe deeply and slowly. Each breath draws in the purity of the mineral-rich atmosphere, while each exhalation releases into the vast quiet that surrounds you. The cavern feels like a place designed by nature for rest, for surrender, for the mind to drift freely into stillness. A narrow stone bridge arcs across one of the deeper pools, its surface shaped with gentle curves that encourage unhurried steps. As you cross it, the water beneath deepens into shades of soft indigo. The reflections here are slower, smoother, almost glass-like. The faint sound of the hidden current hums through the water as if the cavern holds its own quiet heartbeat. Reaching the far side, you step onto a final terrace carved into the cavern wall. The terrace is shaped like a crescent, overlooking the pools below. The stone here is cool and velvety, carrying the softness of countless years. Sitting or pausing here feels effortless. The cavern seems to cradle you with its deep silence and soft glow. From this vantage point, the entire cavern of sleeping currents opens before you. The still water, the drifting reflections, the glowing stalactites, the great stone column rising into darkness, the slow motion of cool air, and the peaceful hum resonating beneath it all. Nothing stirs abruptly. Nothing interrupts the calm. Every movement is gentle, unbroken, slow. Everything within the cavern rests in a harmony shaped by the ancient world. At the far end of the terrace, a small, darkened opening leads even deeper into the temple. A faint, warm glow emanates from within, subtler than the amber of the grotto, but warmer than the blue of the cavern, as though the path ahead will unite the warmth of the earth with the coolness of hidden waters. You take one final, deep breath of the cavern's serene atmosphere, letting its stillness settle into every corner of your mind. Then, with slow, quiet steps, you begin to move toward the next chamber. The small, dark opening that appears beyond the terrace of the cavern of sleeping currents feels like a quiet invitation into yet another level of tranquility. An entrance into deeper warmth where the calmness of the earth and the softness of the hidden waters begin to merge into a single, harmonious presence. As you step toward it, the cool air of the cavern lingers around your shoulders for several moments before gradually giving way to a milder, gentler warmth that drifts outward from the narrow passage ahead. The corridor begins unassumingly, with low walls and a softly sloping ceiling carved into smooth, rounded shapes. The stone here shifts into warmer tones, soft ochre, muted gold, and faint amber notes that glow like the first hints of dawn rising behind distant hills. The glow is subtle, emerging from veins of mineral-rich stone that run horizontally across the walls in thin, delicate bands. These bands catch the faint radiance and reflect it in long, slow gradients that rise upward like a soft exhalation of warm breath. Your footsteps become even quieter here, absorbed completely by the polished, slightly warm stone beneath your feet. The air feels calm and still, with a softness that wraps around the senses like a gentle embrace. A faint fragrance begins to fill the corridor, warm, resinous, touched with subtle sweetness. It resembles the scent of oils once used in ancient sanctuaries. Amber resin, warm beeswax, distant traces of dried herbs that have been crushed beneath the hands of temple keepers centuries ago. The scent is never strong, only present enough to soften the mind into deeper relaxation. As the corridor curves deeper, the ceiling rises gradually into higher, more expansive arches. The warmth grows slightly stronger, though never intense, only steady and inviting. You begin to hear a faint, rhythmic sound, a soft pulse, gentle as a relaxed breath. It resembles the slow inward and outward expansion of air within a sheltered chamber, a quiet movement that spreads through the stone in subtle waves. This breath-like rhythm is soothing, grounding, and perfectly aligned with the tranquil atmosphere. Eventually, the passage broadens into a vast hall that feels both ancient and alive. This is the Hall of Golden Breath, a name given by the temple's earliest scholars who believed that the warm air circulating through this chamber carried the gentle remnants of life, of soil, stone, plants, and memory held within the earth. The hall opens into a long, elliptical space with walls that ascend in soft, sweeping curves. The entire chamber glows with a deep, golden radiance that appears to rise from beneath the stone floor itself. The floor is warm to the touch, shaped into broad, rounded stones that fit together seamlessly like the scales of a slowly breathing creature. The warmth here is soft and comforting, spreading evenly through the floor and rising upward in soothing currents that drift like invisible waves through the hall. Above, the ceiling arches high into a dome carved with wide, flowing patterns that resemble the gentle motion of warm wind across a sunlit sand. These patterns intertwine, forming long, looping currents that travel across the ceiling in slow, harmonious sequences. The golden light catches on the carved ridges, creating soft highlights that glide along the patterns as the air shifts. The effect is mesmerizing, like watching slow clouds drift across the sky at dusk. The air itself carries a faint shimmer, barely visible, like thin veils of warm mist drifting through the hall. These shimmering currents rise from vents hidden along the lower walls, carrying mineral-rich warmth from deep within the earth. As the warm air drifts upward, it spreads into wide, gentle waves that flow across the chamber with a softness that feels almost alive. When these waves pass near you, they wrap around your shoulders and chest with a comforting embrace, easing the breath into longer, steadier rhythms. Moving further into the hall, you notice a series of tall, slender pillars arranged in two parallel rows that lead toward the center. These pillars are carved from the same warm stone, their surfaces adorned with flowing motifs that resemble rising air in slow, elongated spirals. The spirals widen as they move upward, culminating in rounded shapes that resemble softly glowing lanterns. Though no flame burns within them, the rounded tops reflect the golden light beautifully, creating gentle orbs of radiance that float above the pillars like suspended suns. Between the pillars lies a long, reflecting band carved into the floor, a shallow groove filled with fine grains of shimmering sand. The sand is warm, smooth, and glitters softly under the golden light. As warm currents of air drift across it, the grains shift in faint, delicate ripples that resemble the slow movement of dunes beneath a twilight sky. These ripples stretch and fade in unbroken patterns, inviting the gaze to follow their gentle path without any sense of urgency. Farther ahead, the hall widens into a broad central chamber. In the middle of this space lies a circular depression crafted from solid stone. Its surface is polished and perfectly smooth, carved with shallow grooves that extend outward in long, flowing arcs. These grooves create a pattern reminiscent of warm breath expanding into the air, wide at the center, narrowing into gentle lines as they stretch toward the outer walls. The depression emits a subtle warmth, rising from deep within the stone. When you step near it, the heat settles gently around your legs, rising upward through your body in slow, calming waves. The warmth is steady, balanced, never overwhelming. It feels like standing near a sheltered fire that has been smoldering for hours, its embers glowing softly beneath protective ash. Above the depression, the dome reaches its highest point, and from its center hangs a long, slender structure resembling a naturally formed stalactite. Unlike the mineral formations in the cavern above, this piece of stone glows with a soft golden white radiance. It appears to be carved with extremely fine patterns, though the light around it softens the details into a gentle blur. The glow descends like a ribbon of soft sunlight, illuminating the central depression in warm, tranquil tones. Every part of the hall invites stillness, not a forced stillness, but a natural surrender, a quiet letting go into the warmth of the ancient earth. You remain in the center of the hall for a long moment, allowing the golden breath of the chamber to settle deeper into your senses. The warmth, the soft glow, the quiet hum, they blend together into a single atmosphere that eases every corner of your mind. Toward the far end of the hall, a small, rounded opening leads into another descending passage. This passage glows with a softer, more muted radiance, as though it holds the gentle transition between the warmth of this hall and the deeper quiet of sanctuaries yet to come. You take one slow, steady breath, letting the warmth fill you completely. Then, with quiet, unhurried steps, you begin walking toward the next passage, carrying the golden stillness of the hall with you into the deeper chambers of Babylon's sleeping night. The passage leading away from the Hall of Golden Breath begins as a narrow corridor carved with simple, flowing curves that echo the gentle warmth behind you. But as you move deeper into the descending pathway, the air gradually cools into a soft equilibrium, blending faint traces of mineral freshness with the lingering warmth carried from the previous chamber. The walls shift in color once more, transitioning from warm amber into muted tones of silver taupe, soft beige, and faint streaks of pale gold that shimmer only when the light touches them from a certain angle. These shifting hues resemble fine dust drifting across a landscape at the quiet edge of dawn, where shadows and faint sunlight meet in gentle balance. The passage slopes downward in a broad, graceful arc. The silence becomes heavier, deeper, but never oppressive. Instead, it feels like a sanctuary preparing itself to unveil a new kind of stillness. The faint glow along the walls becomes more diffused, spreading outward in long, steady gradients that soften the entire corridor into a calm, unbroken flow of light. As you continue your descent, the ceiling rises slowly, opening into a high, elongated arch. The stone transitions into a smoother, silk-like texture, shaped over centuries by both human craftsmanship and the subtle movement of underground currents. The air carries a faint scent of fine dust, clean, soft, reminiscent of old stone warmed gently by first light. There is nothing heavy or stale in the scent. It is subtle and almost soothing, like the memory of a quiet morning breeze drifting across untouched sand. Eventually, the corridor widens, revealing an entrance veiled in a soft, pearlescent glow. This glow resembles the light of dawn just before the sun touches the horizon, cool at first, then warming as it spreads across the stone. Stepping beyond the threshold, you enter the whispering gallery of dust and dawn, an expansive chamber shaped with meticulous care, where every curve, surface, and shadow has been crafted to capture and soften the quiet stirrings of light. The gallery is vast, its floor carved into gentle, sweeping terraces that descend in broad arcs toward a central platform. Each terrace is smooth and slightly dusted with a fine layer of mineral powder that glimmers faintly under the chamber's diffuse glow. The dust shifts slightly beneath your feet, not enough to disturb the surface, only enough to create soft ripples like those found on untouched dunes after the lightest breath of wind. Above the terraces, the walls curve upward into enormous, elongated arches. These arches are covered with intricate patterns etched so lightly into the stone that they appear almost like drifting trails of powdered gold. The patterns resemble long currents of dust carried by a gentle breeze, spiraling slightly, rising upward, then dissolving into soft, translucent shapes. When the light touches them, they shimmer faintly, revealing countless details that seem to shift with the angle of your gaze. The light itself is unique to this chamber. It does not emanate from a single source, but appears to bloom softly from within the stone, emerging like the first glow of dawn rising beneath the surface. The radiance flows upward in slow waves, illuminating the swirling patterns in soft layers of pale gold and silver, giving the entire gallery the appearance of being gently washed in early morning light. The acoustics of the gallery are delicate and unusual. Any small movement, your breath, the subtle brushing of dust beneath your feet, the faint shifting of air, produces a quiet, elongated whisper that travels along the stone in a soft, drifting echo. These whispers are gentle, stretching outward into long, dissolving trails that fade before they ever become sharp or intrusive. They create an atmosphere that feels alive yet tranquil, as though the entire chamber is wrapped in the soft, murmuring presence of dawn itself. As you walk down one of the terraces, the dust shifts in faint, delicate patterns. These patterns expand outward in slow, curling motions that resemble fine trails drawn across the surface by an invisible hand. The trails linger for only a moment before settling back into smoothness, leaving no mark or disruption behind. This movement is so subtle and quiet that you almost feel as though the chamber itself inhales and exhales through the shifting dust. At the center of the gallery lies an expansive circular platform carved into a single, immense piece of stone. Its surface is perfectly smooth, shaped into long, gentle curves that reflect the faint light like polished parchment. The platform emits a soft warmth, not as pronounced as the Hall of Golden Breath, but warm enough to create a sense of grounded comfort. Standing atop it, you feel as though you are at the calm heart of a morning landscape just before the sun breaks the horizon. Above the platform, the ceiling reaches its highest point. Here, a large, circular medallion is carved into the stone, a delicate masterpiece of fine etchings that radiate outward in concentric waves. The patterns resemble thin layers of dust being lifted gently by a soft breeze, rising upward in slow, spiraling trails. The medallion captures and amplifies the chamber's soft glow, sending subtle beams of warm, diffused light downward in long, sweeping arcs. These arcs move across the gallery with such slow, steady rhythm that they resemble the elapsing moments before dawn, distant, patient, and endless in their calm. The beams drift across the terraces, illuminating the carved patterns along the walls, touching the swirling dust at your feet, and gently brushing your skin with a quiet warmth. The faint whispering sounds shift subtly as you move. The chamber responds to your presence, not with sharp echo or reverberation, but with long, soft murmurs that drift through the arches and dissolve into the dust-filled light. It is as though the gallery has been waiting in silence for footsteps that would awaken the gentle voice hidden within its stone. Toward the far end of the hall, the terraces rise again, forming an elevated platform shaped like a broad crescent. The dust here is thinner, more delicate, and glows faintly under the soft radiance above. The platform's edge curves inward toward a smaller, rounded alcove carved with extraordinary precision. This alcove holds a deep pocket of darker shadow, though even in its depth, faint glimmers of soft gold drift across the stone. As you approach the alcove, the whispers become even softer, blending into a long, sighing hush that resembles a breeze passing through thin veils of morning mist. The air grows cooler, the dust finer, and the glow gentler. The alcove feels like a threshold, not into warmth or cold, not into brightness or darkness, but into a transition between them, a moment suspended between night's last breath and dawn's first touch. Inside the alcove lies a single, narrow passage. Its entrance glows with a muted light, the color of pale sand just as the sun begins to graze its surface. The air drifting from within is cool, calm, carrying faint traces of stone, of dust, of time. It invites you forward with the same softness that guided you through the gallery. You pause one final moment in the center of the whispering gallery, letting the slow breath of the chamber settle deeply into your senses. The gentle warmth of the light, the peaceful drift of dust, the quiet whispers echoing in long, dissolving trails, the stillness of dawn hidden beneath the stone. Then, with slow, steady steps, you begin moving toward the next passage, carrying the calm, delicate silence of dust and dawn into the deeper chambers that await within ancient Babylon. The narrow passageway leading out of the whispering gallery feels like a gentle thread connecting two distant breaths of the ancient temple, guiding you toward a new sanctuary shaped by stillness and quiet depth. The air that drifts from within carries a cool softness, mixed with faint traces of warm minerals, like the subtle balance found at the edge of dawn when the night has not yet fully departed and the first warmth of morning begins to rise through the horizon. The corridor begins with a low arch, carved into smooth stone shaped by centuries of careful craftsmanship and slow natural erosion. The colors of the stone shift almost imperceptibly as you step deeper, starting with the pale, dawn-like golden hues of the whispering gallery, then slowly transitioning into soft gradations of muted gray, light beige, and earthy taupe. These tones blend seamlessly into one another, creating a quiet palette that soothes the senses and encourages the mind to relax into a slow, drifting rhythm. The walls are gently curved, shaped into long, flowing contours that resemble faint horizons stretching across distant deserts beneath a calm morning sky. These contours create subtle shadows that elongate and soften as the corridor deepens. They move in long arcs, guiding your gaze forward along a continuous, unbroken line. The ceiling rises gradually, arching upward in an elegant sweep that draws the air upward into gentle, swirling currents. The floor beneath your feet is cool and smooth, carved into shallow terraces that rise and fall with wide, soft steps. Each terrace is so subtly shaped that the transition between levels feels almost like the natural undulation of sand beneath wind-shaped dunes. Walking across them creates an easy, effortless motion, allowing your breathing to fall into harmony with the slow rhythm of your steps. As you move deeper, the lighting shifts again. A soft, diffused radiance emanates from thin mineral veins embedded in the stone, pale lines of quartz, and faintly glowing sandstone that run horizontally along the corridor walls. These veins illuminate the passage with a gentle, steady glow that resembles morning light filtered through a layer of thin clouds drifting across the early sky. There are no sharp edges, no harsh reflections. Everything is softened, muted, flowing. A faint sound begins to drift through the corridor. Not a voice, not an echo, but a soft, elongated note that resembles distant wind traveling across open plains. It is a gentle frequency, low and warm, vibrating subtly through the stone. This faint resonance is steady and calm, creating the sensation of being guided by a quiet, far-off horizon, one that stretches outward beyond sight, yet remains peaceful, anchored, familiar. As you continue forward, the corridor begins to widen. The ceiling rises higher, and the walls curve outward into broader arcs, resembling the widening sky at the edge of an unbroken landscape. The air grows slightly warmer, but only by a breath, as though the temple is gradually guiding you from the cool quiet of the night into the soft glow of a rising morning. Long, faintly shimmering patterns begin to appear along the walls, lines etched with extraordinary delicacy, carved into shapes that resemble drifting ridges of sand at the moment they catch the first angled rays of dawn. These patterns stretch in elongated waves, rising and dipping with graceful fluidity. When you shift your gaze slightly, the ridges seem to shift with you, catching the light in shimmering, muted arcs that move slowly across the stone like distant landscapes seen through a gentle haze. Eventually, the corridor opens fully into a wide, elongated chamber that feels like a sheltered horizon drawn within stone. This is the corridor of soft horizons, a sanctuary shaped to reflect the calm expanses of the Earth's earliest light, where day begins not with brilliance, but with quiet, patient unfolding. The chamber stretches long and wide, its floor carved into broad, shallow waves that glide forward in unbroken continuity. These waves resemble the rising contours of a distant horizon, softened by morning mist. When you step onto them, your body naturally falls into a slower, more restful rhythm. Each step feels cushioned, steady, guided. The walls are tall, rising in soft vertical arcs that meet the ceiling in gentle curves. They bear faint striations, thin, flowing lines that drift upward like long currents of air climbing over a rising landscape. These striations reflect the soft glow in muted gradients, creating the illusion of movement, as though the entire chamber is slowly breathing with the calm patience of the earth. Above, the ceiling stretches high into a gently sloping arch. Its surface is carved into broad, shallow depressions that resemble the soft forms of distant clouds drifting across a pale morning sky. These shapes are not meant to resemble clouds literally. Instead, they evoke the quiet emptiness of the early sky, where light appears without urgency, spreading evenly across the vastness. The lighting in the chamber grows warmer, though still soft and muted. It emerges from narrow slits carved along the base of the walls, where mineral veins glow with a warm, sandy hue. Thin streams of warm air drift upward from these slits, creating gentle currents that travel through the chamber in long, slow patterns. These currents bring with them faint hints of warm stone and the subtle scent of mineral dust warmed by unseen earthbound reservoirs. As you continue along the chamber, the soft waves of stone beneath your feet guide you deeper into the sanctuary. The faint, low resonance grows gradually more present, not louder, but closer, as though the horizon itself is humming gently beneath the floor. This resonance brings a surprising sense of comfort. It feels like the earth whispering its slow, ancient rhythm, encouraging the mind to fall into a similar state of patient stillness. Farther down the chamber, the waves of stone begin to widen and flatten, creating a broad, central platform that resembles the calm crest of a distant hill. The platform is smooth, warm, and illuminated by a gentle glow that rises from a thin fissure running across its center. The fissure emits warm air, carrying a soft, earthy fragrance that fills the surrounding space with serene, grounding calm. Standing atop the platform, you can see how the entire chamber forms a quiet landscape, a horizon enclosed within stone, shaped to evoke the tranquil expanses of early morning. Nothing here moves abruptly. Nothing sharpens or brightens suddenly. All transitions are slow, soft, drifting. Beyond the platform, the chamber narrows again into a diminishing corridor. The walls converge slowly, the waves of the floor becoming subtler, the lights softening into a muted amber gray reminiscent of the sky moments before full sunrise. At the end of the chamber, a low, rounded arch opens into a deeper passage. This new passage glows with a faint, warm radiance, inviting, gentle, patient. The air that drifts from it carries the scent of ancient stone warmed by slow currents, mixed with faint hints of herbal essences used in sanctuaries far below. You pause one final moment in the corridor of soft horizons, absorbing its calm. The muted glow, the waves of stone, the quiet resonance beneath the floor, the soft air drifting upward like the breath of a gentle morning. The horizon-like stillness stretching through the chamber. Then, with slow, unhurried steps, you begin walking toward the deeper passage, carrying the tranquil stillness of the soft horizon into the next chamber of Babylon's sleeping heart. The archway at the end of the corridor of soft horizons appears almost modest at first, its rounded form blending seamlessly into the smooth stone around it. Yet as you approach, a subtle warmth begins to radiate from the passage beyond, forming a gentle contrast with the cool serenity of the corridor behind you. It is the kind of warmth that feels ancient, quiet, and patient, like the lingering heat stored deep within the Earth's layers after the sun has set far above. Stepping through the archway, you feel a shift in the atmosphere. The air becomes denser, not in heaviness, but in presence, carrying a deeper mineral fragrance blended with faint hints of warm clay and ancient soil. The stone walls grow darker and richer in tone, transitioning from pale taupe into deeper browns and muted reds touched with streaks of soft copper. These colors create a warm, grounding palette, inviting your senses into a more intimate, earthbound stillness. The passageway slopes gently downward, its floor carved into long, smooth arcs that resemble the natural curves found in river-carved caverns. The stone beneath your feet is slightly warmer than before, softened by centuries of slow geologic heat. Each step brings with it a quiet, grounding sensation, as though the earth itself is guiding you deeper into its resting heart. As you descend farther, the corridor begins to widen. The ceiling rises gradually into a high, dome-shaped arch, and the walls curve outward in a broad, protective sweep. Faint pulses of warm air drift through the space, moving slowly along the walls like gentle tides. These pulses are subtle, slow expansions of warmth that pass over your skin like an ancient, steady breath exhaled from the depths of the earth. The passage opens fully into a vast, subterranean chamber. It is warmer here, though the warmth is soft, steady, and entirely comforting. This is the chamber of the Earth's quiet pulse, a sanctuary shaped by both natural forces and the delicate touch of ancient hands, designed to reflect the slow, patient heartbeat of the world beneath your feet. The chamber is round and immense, its walls curving upward into a high dome veined with mineral lines that shimmer faintly under the warm glow rising from below. The stone is rich in tone, deep terracotta, burnt umber, warm sienna, with faint touches of polished bronze embedded within the layers. These metallic streaks catch the soft light and reflect it in muted, golden arcs that drift slowly across the dome as the warm air circulates. The floor is carved into a series of wide, concentric terraces that descend gradually toward the center like the gentle rings formed on the surface of still water. Each terrace is smooth and slightly warm, carrying the subtle vibration of the chamber's quiet resonance. This resonance is not a sound, but a soft, rhythmic hum felt through the stone, a calming, grounding pulse that travels upward through your feet into your breath. As you move down the terraces, the hum becomes slightly more distinct. It remains gentle, steady, unbroken, never sharp or loud. It feels like the deep, slow heartbeat of the earth, a rhythm shaped by centuries of subterranean heat, mineral movement, and the quiet breath of hidden caverns. This pulse invites your own breathing to settle into a slower, deeper rhythm, aligning your body with the calm, ancient cadence around you. At the center of the chamber lies a wide, shallow basin carved from a single piece of stone. Its surface is polished to a soft sheen, reflecting the warm glow that rises from beneath the basin through narrow fissures in the floor. These fissures emit faint, glowing light, deep gold blended with subtle red undertones, creating the impression of embers sleeping beneath the stone. The light pulses gently, rising and fading in slow, rhythmic waves that match the chamber's subtle hum. The warmth rising from the basin is soothing and steady. When you step closer, it envelopes your legs and torso in a soft, comforting embrace. The sensation is deeply grounding, as though ancient heat has traveled through countless layers of earth to reach you in this quiet sanctuary. The warmth settles around you, easing the mind and loosening every remaining thread of tension in your breath. Surrounding the basin are 4 tall stone pillars arranged in perfect symmetry. These pillars are carved with flowing vertical patterns that resemble the upward motion of warm air rising from deep within the earth. Their surfaces glow faintly under the chamber's pulsing light, reflecting soft gradients that shift slowly as the air moves. The pillars feel less like rigid structures and more like conduits, ancient channels through which the earth's warmth and rhythm gently flow. Above the pillars, the dome's highest point gleams softly with the reflection of the pulsing light. The mineral veins embedded there form intricate, branching patterns that resemble the roots of ancient trees spreading out in all directions. These patterns catch the pulsing glow and shimmer subtly, creating the impression of a slow, inward breath followed by a gentle, unhurried exhalation. The entire chamber seems alive with this quiet rhythm, breathing, glowing, resonating in a tranquil cycle. As you stand near the basin, your body naturally slows into harmony with the chamber's pulse. Your breathing deepens, your shoulders loosen, your thoughts drift into gentle, unhurried currents. The air carries faint hints of warm clay and mineral dust, blending into a scent that feels ancient and grounding, like the memory of sunlight warming a quiet canyon long ago. Along the walls of the chamber, natural alcoves curve inward, each one shaped into a smooth, rounded hollow. These alcoves glow faintly with reflected light, creating sheltered pockets of warmth within the larger space. The stone inside them is slightly warmer than the rest of the chamber, holding heat gently like the surface of sun-warmed rock at dusk. When the warm currents drift across these alcoves, the glow inside them flickers softly, not abruptly, but like the slow, patient breathing of a distant ember. A narrow trickle of water flows through one of the alcoves, emerging from a small opening in the wall and traveling across a shallow groove carved into the floor. The water is clear and cool, carrying faint mineral scents. Its motion creates a soft, delicate sound, a quiet, continuous whisper that blends perfectly with the chamber's rhythmic pulse. The water's path curves gracefully around the terraces before disappearing into another opening, continuing its slow journey deeper into the earth. This faint trickle adds a gentle counterbalance to the chamber's warmth, creating a perfect harmony between heat and coolness, motion and stillness. At the far side of the chamber, the terraces rise into a broad ledge carved from slightly darker stone. The ledge is shaped into wide, flat curves, offering a vantage point from which the entire chamber can be seen at once. When you ascend the terraces to reach it, the hum beneath your feet becomes even more pronounced, not louder, but clearer, as though the resonance is converging beneath the ledge. Standing there, you can see how the pulses of warm light rise from the fissures, travel upward along the pillars, glide across the dome, and then descend again in soft, sweeping arcs. The entire space feels like a living, breathing entity, ancient, peaceful, steady. From the ledge, another passage opens into a deeper, narrower corridor. The glow within it is dimmer and more muted than the chamber behind you, still warm, but touched with subtle undertones of cool gray. The air drifting from it carries faint hints of stone, earth, and deeper stillness, suggesting that the next sanctuary will blend warmth with quiet shadow. You take one final breath in the chamber of the earth's quiet pulse, allowing its ancient rhythm to settle fully into your senses. The soft, steady hum beneath the stone, the gentle warmth rising from a basin, the slow currents drifting across the pillars, the faint whisper of mineral water, the pulsing glow that breathes with the chamber. Then, with slow, deliberate steps, you begin moving toward the next passage, carrying the ancient heartbeat of Babylon's sleeping earth with you into the deepening quiet ahead. The passage leading away from the chamber of the earth's quiet pulse narrows gently as you step toward it, though the transition never feels abrupt or confining. Instead, the chamber's warm, rhythmic glow lingers for several breaths behind you, merging gradually with the softer, dimmer radiance waiting ahead. The air shifts subtly as you enter the corridor, still warm, still carrying traces of the earth's pulse, but touched now with a quieting coolness that softens the heat into a steady, tranquil equilibrium. The walls of the corridor curve inward, their stone shifting into deeper shades of muted brown and soft charcoal gray. Thin veins of faded copper and warm bronze run through the stone in gentle arcs, glowing faintly with residual warmth. These bands of metal-like mineral reflect the dim light in long, subdued ribbons that guide your gaze forward. The effect resembles embers slowly dimming after a long night, retaining their gentle glow even as they prepare to fade into cooling ash. The floor beneath your feet is warmer than the walls, shaped into smooth, continuous patterns that feel like the settled remnants of ancient, smoldering fire. The warmth is subtle, not enough to heat the air, only enough to anchor your steps with soft currents that move upward through your legs in slow, calming waves. Every step brings a comforting reassurance, like walking across stone warmed by the sun only moments before dusk. The further you move, the more the corridor widens. Its ceiling rises gradually, allowing the dim light to expand into broader, diffused layers. The glow comes from small fissures carved along the edges of the walls, tiny slits filled with mineral deposits that emit a steady, warm-hued radiance. This glow carries the gentle memory of dying embers, casting long, soft shadows that drift slowly as the air circulates through the passage. Eventually, the corridor opens fully into the Hall of Dimming Embers, a vast, cavernous sanctuary shaped to reflect the final, lingering warmth at the end of night. The chamber is vast, yet the dimness renders it intimate, enveloping, and deeply calming. It feels like stepping into the quiet heart of a fading fire, where heat still lingers in the core, though the world has begun to cool around it. The hall's floor is shaped into broad, rippling platforms arranged in descending terraces. Each terrace curves deeply inward, resembling shallow bowls carved from warm stone. These curves capture the residual glow rising from the fissures of the chamber's center, creating wide, gentle pools of light that bleed into the surrounding dimness. When you descend onto the first terrace, the warmth intensifies slightly, not in sharpness, but in presence, like stepping closer to the last coals of sheltered hearth. The chamber's walls are tall and smooth, crafted from dark mineral-rich stone. They are adorned with long, flowing patterns etched so lightly that they seem to hover on the surface. These patterns resemble drifting ash carried by invisible currents, thin, widening trails that curve upward before fading into the darkened stone near the ceiling. When the chamber's faint warmth touches them, they shimmer subtly, like embers glowing beneath a thin layer of ash. Across the center of the hall lies a massive circular depression carved deep into the stone floor. The depression glows with a steady, pulsing warmth, illuminated by the low light rising from the fissures beneath it. The glow is soft and muted, deep orange touched with faint red undertones, creating the impression of embers breathing slowly in their final hours of heat. The pulsing effect is mesmerizing, guiding your breath into long, unhurried cycles that match the chamber's slow heartbeat. Around the depression, 8 tall pillars stand in a perfect circle. These pillars are carved from darker stone than the walls. Their surface is polished to a soft sheen that catches the dim glow in faint, wavering arcs. Thin channels run along the pillar's length, shallow grooves filled with mineral deposits that once guided warm oils down their surfaces during ancient ceremonies. Though the oils have long since burned away, the grooves still glimmer faintly, holding the quiet memory of past flames. As you walk closer to the pillars, the warmth rising from the central depression wraps around you with gentle, steady pressure. Not heavy, not hot, but grounding. It feels like heat preserved deep within layers of stone over centuries, emerging now only in soft breaths that drift upward through the hall. The air carries faint traces of old resin, warm, sweet, and earthy, and the subtle scent enhances the sensation of stepping deeper into the resting memory of ancient fire. Above the pillars, the ceiling rises into a broad dome carved with thick, slow-sweeping arcs. These arcs resemble the swirling movement of smoke at the moment before it dissipates into cooler air. The patterns are wide, gentle, and calming, guiding the eye naturally into long, meandering paths that ease the mind into stillness. The dome's dim glow highlights their edges just enough to reveal their shape without sharpening their lines. Everything remains soft, muted, and perfectly suited for rest. At the far end of the hall, gentle mounds of pale mineral ash have collected in small drifts along the floor. These mounds shimmer faintly under the scattered glow, forming soft ridges that resemble dunes sculpted by an almost imperceptible breeze. Their presence adds an earthy softness to the chamber, grounding the atmosphere further in the quiet memory of warmth fading into stillness. When you reach the center of the hall, the pulsing warmth rising from the glowing fissures feels almost like a heartbeat beneath your feet. It vibrates softly, spreading upward through your body in long, gentle waves. The warmth brings a sense of deep peace, an assurance that the earth beneath you has stored centuries of calm and now releases it in slow breaths, meant to soothe anyone who enters this sanctuary. Near the edge of the central depression, a series of shallow bowls are carved directly into the stone. These bowls contain fine mineral powder, soft grains that reflect the dim glow in muted tones of red, gold, and pale bronze. When the warm currents drift across them, the grains shift subtly, creating ripples that move like tiny waves under the soft guidance of the hall's breath. The movement is so gentle, so gradual, that it resembles time passing slowly before dawn, unmeasured and unrushed. As you stand there, surrounded by warmth and dimmed glow, you feel the hall inviting you into deeper quiet. Its atmosphere is heavy with rest, heavy with long-held memory, heavy with the lingering presence of warmth that refuses to die sharply or suddenly. Every part of the hall, its pillars, its terraces, its dome, its flickering mineral veins, breathes in the same slow rhythm. Toward the far right of the hall, a narrow passage begins. It is lined with deep shadows, though soft radiance pulses within them. The passage curves downward, carrying both warmth and dimness into even deeper chambers. The air drifting from it carries hints of cooler stone, suggesting that the next sanctuary will transition again from fading ember warmth into a quieter, darker stillness. You take one last breath of the hall of dimming embers, letting its soft glow settle within you. The warm terraces beneath your feet, the drifting mineral ash, the pulsing embers in the basin, the slow heat rising through the air, the calm echoes within the chamber's vastness. Then, with slow, steady steps, you begin moving toward the shadowed passage, carrying the quiet warmth of dying embers into the deeper silence that awaits within Babylon's ancient heart. The passage that extends from the far edge of the hall of dimming embers narrows into a gently sloping corridor, its entrance veiled in soft, wavering shadows that seem to breathe with the dying warmth behind you. As you step into it, the air changes once again, cooler now, touched with faint traces of fine mineral dust, carrying with it the quiet scent of stones settling after long ages of stillness. The shift is subtle, gradual, and deeply calming, as though the temple is guiding you from ember-lit warmth into the soft cradle of quiet ash. The corridor walls are carved from darker, smoother stone. The colors transition gently from muted browns into cooler grays, with faint undertones of deep charcoal that catch the dim light in long, soft sweeps. Embedded veins of pale silver run horizontally along the walls, glowing faintly like cooled trails of metal that once carried heat but have since fallen into serene stillness. These veins reflect the faint light in soft, delicate gradients that resemble starlight diffused through a heavy mist. The floor beneath you is slightly cooler than before, though still warm enough to feel grounding. It is carved into long, gentle slopes that descend in slow, graceful arcs. Each step creates a quiet movement of air, barely noticeable, subtle, and soft, as the corridor guides you deeper into the quiet heart of the ancient earth. The sound of your footsteps dissolves instantly into the thick stillness, leaving behind only a faint hint of movement, like drifting ash settling onto undisturbed ground. As you continue, the ceiling lowers slightly, forming an elongated vault. Its curved shape channels the dim radiance forward, creating the impression of walking through the narrowing throat of an ancient cavern. The lighting grows cooler, though never cold, its softness carrying a steady calm, as though the glow has been shaped by centuries of quiet breath drifting across darkened stone. The corridor eventually widens into a low, expansive chamber that feels entirely different from the spaces you have explored so far. This is the Hollow of Quiet Ash, a sanctuary devoted to stillness, where warmth fades into soft shadow and shadow settles into calm, delicate heaviness, like a final moment of night before the earth sinks into complete rest. The chamber is broad and low-ceilinged, with a floor that stretches wide into gradual slopes and shallow depressions. These depressions are filled with fine mineral ash, pale gray powder so light that even the smallest current causes subtle, whispering shifts across its surface. The ash glows faintly under the chamber's muted radiance, creating soft, silvery textures that resemble moonlit dunes in miniature. As you step deeper into the chamber, the ash shifts under your weight with the faintest sigh. The grains are so delicate that their movement feels more like drifting mist than sand. They slide and settle in gentle ripples around your steps, leaving no mark, no indentation, only a momentary trail of movement that melts back into stillness as soon as you move on. The walls of the chamber are carved in broad, shallow arcs. Their surfaces are matte, textured by centuries of slow mineral accumulation that gives them an appearance similar to softly weathered clay. Pale streaks of lighter stone run from ceiling to floor in uneven, vertical trails, resembling ancient rains that once trickled down the walls and left behind delicate traces of their passage. Near the center of the chamber lies a large, circular hollow filled with an exceptionally fine layer of ash. The ash here is even lighter in texture, almost silken, reflecting the dim glow in soft, pearlescent ripples. As faint currents of air pass gently over its surface, they create wide, slow-moving waves that travel across the hollow like quiet breaths released by the stone itself. Above this central hollow, the low ceiling curves inward into a subtle dome. The dome is marked by graceful patterns that resemble the gentle spiraling of smoke. These patterns are carved so lightly that they seem almost accidental, shapes formed by the drifting of ash, settling over centuries into faint grooves that trace invisible currents of air. When the soft light touches them, they shimmer in thin, delicate arcs, creating the impression of shadows rising and dissolving in slow, peaceful motion. At the chamber's far edges, shallow alcoves are carved into the stone. Each alcove is filled with a slightly deeper layer of ash, forming pockets of softness that resemble natural nests formed by the quiet settling of dust over countless years. The air within these alcoves is cooler and heavier, carrying a faint scent reminiscent of old minerals and earth untouched by light. These pockets of deeper stillness amplify the quiet of the chamber, drawing sound and breath into a more muted rhythm. As you remain in the center of the hollow of quiet ash, time itself seems to slow. The air grows denser, the quiet deeper. Even your breathing feels softened, as though the chamber absorbs each exhale, spreading it gently across the drifting ash. The calmness becomes tangible, thick, almost velvety in texture, inviting every part of your mind to settle into a slow, relaxed state. A faint sound begins to resonate through the chamber. Not a hum, not a vibration, but a soft, rhythmic hush. It resembles ash drifting across stone in slow, continuous waves. The sound carries no direction. It seems to rise from the stone itself, or from the depths below, or from the movement of air barely perceptible. Whatever its source, the hush is soothing, steady, and deeply restful. On the far side of the chamber, a raised platform emerges gently from the ash. Its surface is smooth, warm, and free of dust, carved into a long, slightly elevated arc that provides a clear view of the entire sanctuary. When you step onto it, the ash softly parts around your feet with a whisper so delicate that it feels like stepping through a dream or a slow-moving memory. From this platform, the hollow of quiet ash reveals itself fully. The wide, shallow depressions filled with pale, drifting powder. The soft waves of ash moving beneath faint currents. The silken sheen of the central hollow. The spiraling patterns carved into the dome overhead. The cool, quiet alcoves holding deeper pockets of shadow. The long, slow breath of the chamber settling around everything. Nothing here moves abruptly. Nothing breaks the quiet. Nothing disturbs the slow drift of time. The chamber feels like a sanctuary meant for surrender, where warmth softens into stillness, and stillness deepens into a quiet that allows the mind to finally let go. To your right, a narrow, low passage opens into deeper shadow. This passage glows with the faintest warm light, barely visible, as though it carries the memory of glow left behind by embers far away. The air inside is cooler still, carrying a delicate scent of stone untouched for ages. The way forward is quiet, slow, and steady. You take one more long, calm breath, allowing the soft hush of drifting ash to settle into every part of your senses. The faint vibration of movement beneath the powder, the gentle shimmer of silvery mineral dust, the stillness of the alcoves, the soft warmth rising from stone, the lingering calm that gathers inside the chamber. Then, with slow, unhurried steps, you begin to walk toward the narrow passage, carrying the delicate stillness of quiet ash into the deeper sanctuaries that await in the sleeping layers of ancient Babylon. The narrow passage emerging from the hollow of quiet ash feels softer and dimmer than any corridor you've entered so far. Its entrance sits low and shadowed, as though carved deliberately to guide the body into a quieter posture, encouraging each movement to slow into gentle, continuous flow. As you step inside, the air grows cooler, not sharply so, but in a way that feels like drifting into deeper twilight, where warmth and shadow merge into a muted calm. The stone beneath your feet shifts from the ash-dusted texture of the previous chamber into a smoother, more polished surface. The color deepens into soft shades of bluish gray, with faint streaks of muted green running like thin, whispering veins along the floor's gentle incline. The walls narrow just slightly around you, shaped into flowing contours that guide the air in long, subtle currents. These currents pass quietly over the stone, creating the faintest echoes that resemble footsteps heard from a great distance. So gentle, so elongated, that they fade before you can fully grasp their rhythm. As you descend deeper into the corridor, the ceiling rises slowly, opening into a high, sweeping arch. The surfaces here are smoother than before, polished to a softness that reflects the dim glow in long, delicate ribbons. These reflections shift slightly as you walk, moving across the arch in patterns reminiscent of distant water flowing beneath a calm night sky. The glow comes from thin slivers of mineral deposits embedded in the stone, pale, muted, almost ghost-like in their subtle radiance. Gradually, the corridor opens into an expansive chamber shaped with extraordinary subtlety. This is the Vault of Silent Footfalls, a sanctuary designed to amplify quiet, to stretch sound into soft, dissolving echoes that drift through the air like faint memories. The entire chamber feels suspended in time, so still that even the slightest movement becomes a gentle ripple through the silence. The vault is vast and wide, with a floor carved into long, shallow terraces that slope gradually downward. These terraces resemble ancient pathways worn smooth by countless years of careful steps, each one wide enough to walk comfortably, yet shaped in slow arcs that guide movement naturally inward. The stone is cool beneath your feet, carrying a faint, steady vibration that feels less like sound and more like the subdued rhythm of the earth settling quietly into itself. The walls rise in tall, graceful curves, their surfaces adorned with thin, looping etchings that flow upward like elongated shadows. These patterns are nearly imperceptible in the dim light, appearing only when the faint glow glides across them. They seem to echo the movement of footsteps, long, extended traces that drift upward and dissolve before they ever form sharp lines. The chamber feels shaped not by hands alone, but by the memory of motion, as though ancient travelers left behind the gentle sound of their steps which later sculpted the stone. As you walk onto the first terrace, the acoustics of the chamber reveal themselves. Your foot lands softly, yet the faintest whisper of its contact stretches outward in a long, almost meditative echo. The echo is delicate and airy, no louder than a breath, but it extends through the chamber in slow waves that drift along the walls before dissolving into the stillness. Each step creates a similar effect, encouraging the body to move with care, to keep each motion steady and unhurried. The deeper you walk into the vault, the longer and softer these echoes become. They stretch into the air like thin threads of sound woven into the chamber's quiet fabric. This effect invites the mind to loosen its grip on the present moment, allowing each thought to drift slowly outward, dissolving into the long hush that envelopes everything. At the center of the chamber lies a broad, circular platform slightly elevated above the rest of the terraces. The stone here is polished into a smooth, glass-like sheen that reflects the dim radiance in soft gradients. When you step onto it, even the gentle pressure of your foot creates a faint resonance that travels through the platform in long, concentric ripples. These ripples move outward like slow, expanding rings on still water, then fade into the quiet that embraces the chamber. Above the central platform, the ceiling ascends into a tall dome carved with intricate, swirling patterns. These patterns resemble long, flowing trails left behind by swirling wind or drifting dust. The dome captures even the faintest glow and diffuses it into delicate halos that shift with every slow breath of air. The effect is soothing, almost dreamlike, like observing the night sky through a thin veil of mist. Around the edges of the vault, narrow alcoves are carved deep into the stone. Each alcove contains a shallow depression filled with fine mineral dust. This dust is lighter and more delicate than the ash from the previous chamber, shimmering faintly under the dim glow. When the soft air circulates through the vault, the dust stirs into tiny spirals that rise and fall without direction, like faint memories lifting gently and settling again into the quiet. Moving farther into the chamber, you feel the subtle vibration beneath your feet becoming more pronounced. Not louder, but clearer, like the soft pulse of something ancient embedded deep within the stone. This pulse travels upward in slow, steady waves that align with your breath. It feels grounding, balancing, as though the vault is whispering that every step, every thought, every breath belongs to a deeper rhythm older than the temple itself. Toward the far end of the hall, the terraces narrow into long, elongated steps that descend into a low, open expanse. Here, the stone changes texture, becoming softer, almost velvety, with delicate ripples that resemble the smooth surface of sand brushed by a light wind. The dim glow spreads evenly across this area, creating pools of gentle light that illuminate the contours in soft gradients. In the center of this lower expanse lies a large, circular indentation filled with cool, powdered stone. The powder shifts with the faintest motion of air, creating thin, swirling patterns that resemble tiny storms settling into stillness. When you approach, the vibrations beneath your feet become even gentler, as though the chamber recognizes your presence and calms itself further. Near this indentation, a series of tall, slender pillars rise from the floor, arranged in a loosely spaced circle. Unlike the warm, earth-toned pillars of earlier chambers, these are carved from pale, smoky stone. Their surfaces carry thin, wavering lines that appear almost like the soft trails left behind by drifting shadows. When the dim glow touches them, the lines shimmer faintly, suggesting motion even though the stone remains perfectly still. Standing in this part of the vault, you feel the silence deepen around you. The acoustics shift. Sounds travel even farther here, their echoes stretching into long, subtle whispers before dissolving into the heavy quiet. The quiet is so complete that even your slow breathing feels like part of the chamber's natural rhythm. To your left, a wide archway opens into another passage. This passage is darker than any you've seen thus far, though not in a way that evokes fear. Its darkness is soft, muted, inviting, like the gentle shadow of a deep, sheltered valley at dusk. A faint, warm radiance emanates from far within, though it is almost imperceptible from where you stand. You pause one last time in the vault of silent footfalls, letting its calm settle deeply into your senses. The long, drifting echoes of soft steps, the faint spirals of powdered stone lifting and settling, the delicate glow reflected on smooth terraces, the gentle pulse beneath the floor, the vast, suspended quiet that envelopes the chamber. Then, with a slow, steady breath, You begin walking toward the darkened archway, carrying the lingering softness of quiet footsteps into the deeper, resting heart of ancient Babylon. The darkened archway at the far end of the vault of silent footfalls feels like a gentle transition, an opening carved not to frighten or obscure, but to cradle the quiet with even deeper stillness. As you approach, the air grows softer, thicker with silence, carrying with it the faintest trace of warmth drifting from somewhere beyond the curve of shadow. Nothing about this passage feels abrupt. Rather, it resembles the final stretch of dusk merging into night, where every part of the world slows, breathes, and settles. Stepping inside, the corridor narrows just slightly, yet the space remains comfortable, shaped in a way that guides your body into slower, more deliberate movement. The walls are formed from smooth stone in deeper tones, smoky gray touched with faint blue-green hues that shimmer subtly under the dim, distant glow. These hues shift gently as you walk, moving across the surface like traces of moonlight passing through thin clouds at twilight. The floor beneath your feet is cool and velvety, carved into shallow waves that flow forward in long, continuous patterns. Each step glides naturally into the next, easing your breath into soft, steady rhythms. The corridor curves slowly downward, following a path shaped by ancient hands that understood how to lead the mind gently toward rest. As you move deeper, the faint warmth ahead becomes more distinct. Not heat, but a soft, diffused radiance, like the final luminous breath of embers that remain alight long after the fire is quieted. The passage begins to widen, and the walls open outward into broad arcs. Thin mineral veins that once appeared dark now glow faintly in pale gold and silver, catching the soft radiance as it grows. And then, as the corridor rounds one final curve, the space opens fully into a sanctuary unlike any you have encountered in the temple so far. This is the sanctuary of the last luminous breath, the lowest and most serene chamber, carved deep within the sleeping earth beneath ancient Babylon. The chamber is vast, yet every part of it feels intimate and tenderly quiet. The ceiling is high, shaped into a crescent-like dome that gently curves downward at its edges, as though embracing the chamber in a protective arc's soft radiance rises from the floor itself, emerging through delicate fissures that glow with muted golds, pale ambers, and faint hints of warm silver. This glow resembles the last breath of fading light, neither bright nor sharp, but lingering, patient calm. The floor is carved into wide, smooth terraces that descend toward a central basin. These terraces are warm to the touch, though the warmth is soft, almost imperceptible, like heat stored within stone after a long day. As you step onto them, the warmth spreads gently through your feet, grounding your breath, loosening the deeper layers of your mind into tranquility. The terraces curve inward, guiding you naturally toward the heart of the sanctuary. The walls bear quiet patterns, long, swirling arcs shaped into the stone with near invisible precision. These arcs resemble soft breaths exhaled over centuries, rising and dissolving into the subtle glow. They shimmer faintly, and their shifting light feels almost like the movement of dawn drifting slowly across an untouched plain. At the center of the sanctuary lies a wide, shallow pool, not of water, but of fine, luminous mineral sand. This sand glows softly, its surface shimmering like the faintest starlight reflected across a quiet desert at the edge of night. The grains move with extraordinary delicacy, stirring in slow, circular patterns as warm currents of air drift upward through hidden vents beneath the basin. The movement of the sand is mesmerizing. It does not swirl sharply. Instead, it shifts like breath, expanding outward, contracting inward, forming delicate spirals that drift across the basin in slow, unhurried patterns. These spirals reflect the chamber's soft radiance in thin, shimmering lines that seem to float above the surface like strands of light. Stepping closer, you feel the air grow warmer, though not in a way that presses or overwhelms. It is warmth that soothes, embracing you with the same softness found in the previous chambers, only deeper, more patient, more settled. The warmth rises in long waves that align perfectly with the slow movements of the luminous sand. The acoustics of the sanctuary are almost otherworldly. Any sound, however faint, stretches into long, delicate echoes that drift upward toward the dome's ceiling, then dissolve gradually like distant wind passing across an endless field. Even your breath becomes softer, wrapping itself around the silence before fading into it completely. As you remain near the basin, the shifting light begins to move across your skin, soft reflections dancing in long, slow arcs. These arcs drift upward, gliding across the walls before rising toward the highest point of the dome, where they merge into one soft, luminous haze. The dome responds to this light by shimmering faintly, as though absorbing each delicate ripple and releasing it again in gentle, descending waves. Behind the basin, a series of smooth, wide steps ascend into a raised platform. The platform glows with slightly brighter radiance, inviting you to rest or stand atop it. When you step onto it, the warmth beneath your feet grows more pronounced, spreading up through your legs in slow, soothing currents. From this vantage point, the entire sanctuary appears as a single, flowing landscape of light and stone, quiet, patient, timeless. The luminous sand shifts softly beneath you, forming new spirals, new patterns, new breaths. The entire chamber seems to breathe with it. Light rises, light settles, warmth expands, stillness deepens, silence softens every part of the air. Above the platform, the dome holds one final marvel, a circular opening carved into its highest point. The opening is narrow, shaped expertly to capture the faintest beams of natural light drifting from the surface far above. These beams are thin, delicate, almost invisible, yet when they fall into the sanctuary, they merge with the glowing sand in a subtle, luminous shimmer. The effect is calming beyond words. Light from the living world above meeting the ancient glow of the earth below, joining in a single, slow, breathing motion. As you stand beneath the beams, the chamber seems to settle around you, drawing you into the quietest depths of its presence. Every breath you take feels slower, fuller, anchored in a way that blends seamlessly with the sanctuary's rhythm. You remain there for a while. No urgency, no movement, only stillness and the slow dance of light across ancient stone. When your breath finally deepens again, your gaze shifts toward the far end of the sanctuary, where a narrow, ascending corridor begins. The glow within it grows warmer and brighter, hinting that it may lead back toward the upper chambers, or perhaps to a final resting place where the story gently concludes. You take one more slow, steady breath, letting the sanctuary's calm sink deeply into your senses. The luminous sand shifting in soft spirals, the tender warmth rising from below, the silent echoes drifting across the dome, the faint beams of distant light, the endless, patient stillness of ancient Earth. Then, carrying all of it with you, you begin walking toward the ascending passage, ready to rise from the depths of Babylon's sleeping heart and toward the gentle light that awaits. The ascending corridor that leads you away from the sanctuary of the last luminous breath rises with such gentle slope that each step feels less like climbing and more like drifting upward on a slow current of warm air. The soft glow behind you lingers for several moments, brushing your back with its final breath before settling once more into the sanctuary's endless stillness. Ahead, the passage remains dim at first, yet gradually, almost imperceptibly, the stone begins to brighten with the faintest suggestion of distant light. The corridor narrows, then widens again into tall, tapering walls shaped into long, sweeping arcs. These arcs guide your gaze forward, upward, encouraging your breath to lengthen into smooth, steady cycles. The walls shift in hue from the deeper grays and cool mineral greens of the lower sanctuaries into warmer tones, soft beige touched with pale gold, then muted amber, then subtle rays of dawn-like brightness that shimmer across the stone as though the temple itself has begun to awaken with you. The air grows less dense, lighter, carrying with it the faintest traces of fragrant warmth left behind by the chambers below. The subtle hum of the earth's long, patient pulse grows quieter with every step, fading into memory rather than disappearing. The silence shifts too, not into emptiness, but into a calm openness, like stepping from the deep, enclosed stillness of night into the gentle promise of early morning. As you continue along the rising path, the corridor opens into a long, softly illuminated hall. This hall is carved with simpler lines than the chambers below, elegant yet unadorned, shaped to reflect transition rather than mystery. The ceiling rises in broad curves that allow the light to spread in gentle sheets, illuminating the space with a radiance that feels familiar, almost like daylight filtered through thin fabric. The floor beneath your feet is smooth and slightly warmed by the ascending air that drifts upward from the sanctuary you left behind. The warmth is faint, subtle, fading with each step as the hall guides you closer to the upper world. The sense of mineral dust and ancient stone give way to the slightest notes of fresh air, so distant at first that you almost wonder whether you imagine them, but then gradually more present, more real, more alive. Far ahead, the hall narrows into the faint silhouette of an opening. Through this narrow shape, you glimpse a soft brightness, muted at first, then tenderly growing as you approach. It is not harsh or sudden. The temple does not release you abruptly. Every curve, every slope, every shift in light is designed to allow the mind and breath to rise gently from the depths, carrying with them all the stillness gathered along the journey. As you near the opening, the texture of the stone beneath your feet changes. It becomes smoother still, polished by countless footsteps across centuries. The air grows lighter, fresher, touched with the subtle scent of morning wind that drifts softly from the world above. You can feel it brushing across your skin in thin, cool currents, stirring your senses without disturbing the deep calm that has settled inside you. Then, with one last quiet step, you pass through the narrow opening and emerge into a tall atrium near the surface. Soft daylight filters down from above, flowing in through long, angled openings carved into the stone. The light is warm, pale, and gentle, sky-colored, with faint hints of gold that swirl through it like quiet currents. It spreads across the atrium walls, illuminating them in soft gradients that evoke the early moments of dawn when night and morning coexist in peaceful balance. The atrium is silent, but not in the deep, immersive way of the lower chambers. Instead, it holds a more open quiet, the kind that allows distant sounds to drift gently through it without ever piercing its stillness. You can almost sense the soft rustle of wind far above, the quiet shift of sand somewhere outside, the subtle sigh of the sky as the world continues its slow, endless rhythm. As you stand in the atrium, the journey through Babylon's sleeping heart begins to settle inside you in long, drifting layers. You remember the lunar glow of the veil, the soft breath of the embered halls, the warm pulse of the earth, the delicate dust of dawn, the quiet ash, the silent footfalls, and finally the last luminous breath beneath the world. Each sanctuary left its calm within you, forming a continuous thread of stillness that now rises with you toward the open sky. A single path leads upward along the atrium's edge, a long, sloping walkway carved in smooth, unbroken arcs. You follow it quietly. The light above grows warmer with every step, though never harsh, never sudden. It spreads along the stone in thin ribbons that feel almost alive, like memories of sunlight carried on the surface of a gentle stream. Halfway up the slope, you pause naturally, allowing the breath to deepen. The air carries a new scent now, subtle but unmistakable, freshness from the open world, faint traces of wind, distant warm sand, the soft hint of morning sky. These subtle notes blend effortlessly with the temple's ancient calm, creating a harmony between the world beneath and the world above. Continuing upward, you eventually reach the top of the slope, where a final gate opens into the surface world. The gate is simple and wide, its frame carved with smooth curves that mirror the soft shapes of the desert landscapes beyond. The light pouring through it is quiet and steady, neither bright nor dim, but perfectly balanced, like the moment before full sunrise when the world is wrapped in pale gold. Stepping beyond the threshold, you find yourself at the entrance of the ancient temple, standing beneath a wide sky washed in the early colors of dawn. The horizon stretches far into the distance, soft and open, with delicate tones of pale rose, muted gold, and cool gray-blue blending together in tranquil harmony. The air is fresh, cool, filled with the subtle rustle of morning breeze moving across the sand. You feel the weight of ancient stone beneath you, the memory of the earth's pulse still faintly humming beneath your feet. Yet you also feel lighter, lifted, gently rising into the softness of the morning world. The deep calm carried from the temple settles within your breath, shaping every inhale into slow expansion, every exhale into effortless release. You remain there for a moment, long enough to let the sky settle into your senses, long enough to let the temple's quiet merge with the quiet of the waking world. And when you finally begin to step away from the entrance, you do so with the deep tranquility of all the chambers behind you resting softly inside your breath. The ancient city around you lies silent, resting beneath the warmth of early sunlight, its great walls and distant ziggurats glowing faintly with the hues of dawn. The desert beyond stretches endlessly, calm and unbroken. The sky above opens wide in slow, steady gradients of light. You walk forward into that quiet world, unhurried, at peace, carrying with you the soft glow of Babylon's sleeping heart, the warmth of forgotten embers, the hush of ancient sands, and the luminous breath of the deep earth. The journey may be complete, but its stillness remains with you, settling into every part of your mind like soft light across quiet stone, enduring gentle, and deeply restful. For more calming sleep stories, you can subscribe anytime.